Kamal, good to see you, brother. How you doing? How you been? Manny, good to see you as well. How you doing? Evening. How you been, Manny? Thanks for today's help. I appreciate you taking time off to help me. No problem anytime. Kamal, no problem, brother. Doc, good to see you as well. Doc, how you doing? Hey, Miles, good to see you, sir. Let's go, Doc. How you doing? How you been, Doc? Good evening, Professor Miles and the whole team. Let's go, Funky brother. How you doing? How you been? Okay, so by the way, thank you so much to everyone that's retweeting the live show right at the beginning of the live show as well. By the time everyone tunes in, I'll go through the gist of what we're going to be talking about tonight's live show. How was your day been? It's been good, brother. Even in Miles of CMF. Joe, good to see you as well. How you doing? By the time everyone tunes in, I'll do a gist of the rundown of what we're going to be talking about tonight's live show. By that time, everyone's tuned in for the first news of tonight's live show. Doing well, buddy. No complaints here. Let's go, Doc. Greetings, everyone from Las Vegas. Let's go, Leroy. How you doing from Las Vegas? And Doc, let's go. So on tonight's live show, we are going to be talking about the EU and regarding AI. We're also going to be talking about the former SEC chairman, Jay Clinton, giving essentially his opinion, his perspective on the Ethereum ETF approval that's recently happened as well, how he thinks it's going to play out from now on. We're also going to talk about Marathon Digital and how they've partnered with Kenya officially now, and they've signed all their contracts. They're going to be launching a new Bitcoin mining operation in Kenya with the approval of the Kenyan government. We're also going to talk about OKX Exchange withdrawing their applications on the Hong Kong markets. We're also going to talk about FTX on tonight's live show as well, because FTX has officially now sold off all their tokens. So there are no more auctions. FTX for a time period was selling off every single essentially token they had in their own wallets to pay off anyone that was, anyone that didn't get paid out from the FTX situation of the downfall of the exchange. So everyone now should be looking forward to getting paid if you're a part of the FTX situation. And I'll also explain to you how this can benefit the crypto space. Also, on tonight's live show, we are going to be talking about Coinbase. Regarding Coinbase and SEC, that's still going on. And the perspectives from SEC's side. We're also going to talk about Standard Chartered Bank on tonight's live show, giving their perspectives, essentially an analyst from Standard Chartered Bank, giving his perspectives on XRP ETFs next and Solana ETFs next. We're also going to talk about the IMF and Zimbabwe. The IMF is now praising, the International Monetary Fund is now praising Zimbabwe regarding their gold token-backed currency. We're also going to be talking about the London Stock Exchange on tonight's live show. I revealed to everyone that the London Stock Exchange, for the first time ever, essentially announced they're about to be greenlighting Bitcoin and Ethereum ETPs on the London Stock Exchange from Wisdom Tree. Now, I'll explain to you what's happened so far on tonight's live show regarding that matter. We're also going to talk about a very interesting perspective regarding hell has frozen over and how US politics and Donald Trump sparked a historic breakthrough for crypto and beyond. We're also going to be talking about tonight's live show regarding this is a very important message regarding this one, a $4.1 trillion State Street advisor is now eyeing ETF space. A $4.1 trillion essentially regarding pension funds and so on and 401ks, they're right now being laser-eyed towards ETF market space. Is it going to be going towards Bitcoin ETF or Ethereum ETFs or any other ETFs? We'll go through it. We're also going to talk about JP Morgan as well on tonight's live show regarding JP Morgan talks about the approved spot Ethereum ETFs and the future of cryptocurrencies regarding that. JP Morgan has always been in favor of Ethereum, not so much in Bitcoin, but extremely in favor of essentially Ethereum. They're ecstatic regarding the Ethereum ETF approval. We're also going to talk about Expo Bank. Now, if you've never heard of Expo Bank inside the crypto space, then you probably weren't there in the early days. In the earlier days, we had something called Expo Bank, which was one of the first crypto banks that launched, and it was for Latin America. And right now, they're expanding their range with Bitcoin Lightning networks, which is quite impressive as well. We're also going to talk about BlackRock regarding their Bitcoin ETF and how essentially they're doing exceptionally well on the volume that's coming in. And we're also going to talk about the FDIC chairman, Morton, who has now lost his job and is going to be replaced. Now, is all of this crypto related regarding him losing his job as a chairman of the FDIC. We'll go through it and I'll give you my opinion and some opinions from the analysts themselves. Now, so those are the topics that we're going to be talking about tonight's live show. Quite a mixture of topics to go through regarding a chairman losing his job, Coinbase versus SEC, Standard Chartered Bank, a $4.1 trillion state coming into 401ks and pensions and so on going towards ETFs, which is quite massive. The London Stock Exchange, we're going to go through on tonight's live show as well. The EU and regarding AI. Quite a mixture of topics to go through on tonight's live show. But before we go through any of that, let's go inside the comment section. I'll say a disclaimer of the live show and then we get right into it. So, Dennis, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hi, Miles of CMF. Dennis, how you been? Good to see you. Morning, Miles of CMF. Chilly here this morning. Winter on the way, unfortunately. Shelly, good to see you as well. How you doing? Good evening, Miles and all CMF. It's not affecting their stocks. Lol. It's not affecting their stocks, which is true. JP, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? Messi, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? And by the way, honestly, thank you so much to everyone that's been retweeting the live show as well, right at the beginning of the live show. Genuinely mean it. Thank you so much. So, the first news to go through on tonight's live show is regarding the EU markets. Now, the EU has, actually, before I say that, welcome to the CMF live show. If this is your first time watching the CMF live show, we talk about recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, regulations, politics, and AI. We also do Q&As, which means if you have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. And the disclaimer of this live show, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. So if it's your first time watching the CMF live show, welcome to the CMF live show. And if you're regular, let's go CMF. Now, first news on tonight's live show is the EU regarding AI. Now, the EU has been going heavy-footed towards AI regulations. They really want to implement AI rules and regulations moving forward. Crypto, yes. Besher, this is when we talk about cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, regulations, AI, in terms of do with tech and the world essentially shifting into a digital space is what we do talk about tonight on this live show every single night, and politics because it all plays in together. So the first news topic to go through on tonight's live show is regarding the EU and essentially AI. Now, the EU has been heavy-footed towards AI regulations moving forward. They've done quite a bit. I mean, in terms of other market spaces, the EU is moving a lot more quicker regarding AI regulations, and their new focus is on projects like ChatGPT, for example. They're moving slightly away from blockchain, but they're still regulating blockchain in terms of the EU, but now they're really focused on ChatGPT, and then the reason why is because they assume it's giving out false information. The EU says ChatGPT outputs too much false information to comply with rules. The European Data Protection Board, the EDPD, published the first progress report from its ChatGPT task force. And the news isn't good for ChatGPT. OpenAI's efforts to bring its flagship AI model ChatGPT in line with the European Union EU rules, including the Comprehensive General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, were noted by the EDPB, but ultimately deemed insufficient. Per the EDBP document, this is what they said, word for word, and I'll tell you why they hate it. And they shouldn't really, because ChatGPT tells you the truth, but also can be manipulated to tell you some false information. But this is what they said, word for word. Although the measures taken in order to comply with the transparency principle are beneficial to avoid misrepresentation of the output of ChatGPT, they are not sufficient to comply. In a very simple term, the EU said that ChatGPT doesn't give the answers we want ChatGPT to give. The EU, essentially. The findings come as an OpenAI has spent much of 2024 dealing with the temporary stop orders from several European member states. As Cointelegraph reported back in January, Italy's data protection agency found that ChatGPT and OpenAI was still a foul of Italian and EU data privacy laws, despite being essentially warned about and being banned back in March 2023. According to the ETPP report, OpenAI hasn't done enough in time since to bring ChatGPT in line with EU laws. And exactly what they mean by that, again, is that ChatGPT isn't, or any sort of AI models right now, they're not giving some, opinions that the EU would want them to give. So when people ask questions inside the EU, they want the ChatGPT or any sort of AI model to give responses that the EU would be pleased about, and not negative things about the EU. So as a matter of fact, writes the EDP, due to the problematic nature of the system, the current training approach leads to a model which essentially may also produce biased or made-up outputs. It's not biased, it's just the EU doesn't like honest answers from ChatGPT. The report also expresses EDP's worries that the outputs provided by ChatGPT are likely to be taken as factual, accurate, by the end users, whether they're accurate or not. It's unclear at this time exactly how OpenAI could bring ChatGPT into compliance. The ChatGPT Model 4, for example, contains billions of data points and somewhere around the trillion parameters. It would be infeasible for humans to comb through the essentially data set to verify its accuracy to a degree, wherein it could be said to be reasonably accurate with the GDP standards. Unfortunately for OpenAI, the EDP explicitly wrote, in particular, in terms of technical impossibilities, it cannot be invoked to justify non-compliance with these requirements. Okay, the EU right now is essentially doubling down on AI, not just on ChatGPT, but also on blockchain AI projects as well. The EU is being heavily influenced by quite a lot of corporations to double down on AI. It's because one, massive corporations don't like the idea, essentially, of AI being so open source. The EU is trying to actually make AI closed source, so random developers don't come out of nowhere and start building on AI. And it's because the corporations don't like that idea. The corporations hate the idea that anybody can just build on AI and make these amazing projects come out of it, because these corporations are paying staff members and employees to come out with these amazing ideas. But then you have somebody in their bedroom working on, an open source AI project, and they create this amazing thing, and they're not hired by that corporation, so that corporation is not profiting, and essentially they're stealing profits from them, is how they see it as. So the EU started to bring some heavy regulations in terms of AI. They're going to be regulating it heavily. They're trying to make it a lot more closed source in terms of blockchain AI projects and so on. But also now they're focused on ChatGPT and saying it's giving out biased information. It's not giving out biased information. It's just not giving out the answers the EU government wants its people to know about. Honesty is not really the best policy when it comes to governments in any sort of a way, and that's why the EU hates it. Now, not saying everything ChatGPT says is absolutely factual and can't be biased. It can be biased because, the people that essentially created ChatGPT can make ChatGPT biased, and they probably have in some sort of a way. So I'm not saying that in any sort of way that ChatGPT gives out honest answers. It's not biased in any sort of way. It is, and it can sometimes give incorrect answers. But the EU's main problem is it's not giving out the answers the EU government wants. In terms of lying, essentially. But yeah, that's regarding EU and ChatGPT. And beforehand, we also talked about how they're close sourcing AI as well. So yeah, the EU has big issues with AI, but they are trying to heavily regulate it moving forward. And the next news to go for on tonight's live show is regarding the former SEC chairman, the new cryptocurrency bull, Jay Clinton, speaks after Ethereum spot ETF approvals. So we're going to go about his perspectives on how he thinks the markets will play out. Now, he is the former, essentially, SEC chairman, and he's about to give out his perspectives on how the markets will play out moving forward. But before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section. Coin, hello, Miles and CMF. Good to see you as well, Coin. How you doing? How you been? Hello, Miles and CMF. G, good to see you as well. How you doing? Evening, Miles and CMF. Pierce, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? ChatGPT is woke, BS. ChatGPT is woke, BS. Hi, Miles and family. Good to see you as well. Troy, how you been? AI, AGI, transparency, public moderation by DAO, and no chance of data harvested by centralized computers, clouds, also subject to censorships if not operating on regulatory friendly internet computer ICP. Let's go, Leroy. I agree with Leroy. Freedom Forever, good to see you as well. How you doing? Good statement, Leroy. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Freedom Forever, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? So, this news. Former SEC chairman, new cryptocurrency bull, Jay Clinton speaks after Ethereum spot ETF approvals. The former U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission SEC chairman Jay Clinton recently provided insights into the SEC's decision-making process regarding Ethereum. He expressed optimism about the future of these products, suggesting their trade was going to be happening either way. Clinton explained that the approval process for Ethereum's ETFs involves two steps. The first step of these was listing the approval, which has already been occurred, so the first green light is there. The second step of the approval of the product itself is still pending, which is true. Despite this, Clinton believes that such an approval will definitely happen, so there's no going back regarding Ethereum ETFs. This is what he said, word for word. We went through the same process with the Bitcoin product and almost all of the questions were answered, Clinton said. He further explained that the question that has arisen recently is whether the market is favorable enough for this product to be listed on exchanges, for Ethereum to be listed on exchanges. During his tenure as the SEC chairman from 2017 to 2020, Clinton essentially did not approve crypto ETFs due to concerns about market efficiencies. However, he acknowledged that spot markets for both Bitcoin and Ethereum have improved significantly over time. They definitely have. I mean, the numbers are definitely there to prove it otherwise. If anybody says ETFs don't work out, I mean, Bitcoin reached new heights, and that was due to the ETFs. 937 corporations are inside the ETF market space. That's according to 13F filings in the SEC. So yes, it's definitely significantly changed over time. I agree. Clinton also noted that the differences in approval processes for Ethereum ETFs and Bitcoin ETFs. Bitcoin spot ETFs were approved on January 10th. The two cryptocurrencies had different classifications. Bitcoin was considered a commodity by the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, and current SEC Chairman Gary Gensler. However, the SEC did not definitely state whether underlying transactions on Ethereum were securities in terms of transactions. Now, for a lot of people that don't know what Clayton is talking about right now, so the former SEC member, former SEC chairman, Jay Clinton, what he's essentially referring to is the Profumium situation, which is right now Ethereum is essentially getting their ETF. The first step is approved. The second step, within a month, it should be listed on all types of market spaces, ready to be purchased, and corporations will probably jump on Ethereum. Now, what he's referring to is the Profumium situation, where Profumium is a platform that is approved by the SEC. It has former SEC members working inside of it, and the only project they're going to be going ahead with is Ethereum, but they're listing as a security. So what he's referring to is that scenario, as the SEC is greenlighted essentially the ETFs, but there's still that scenario of Profumium going along, where they're about to be listing on the category of securities regarding Ethereum and launching it. And they have former SEC members working inside of it. It's the only platform within the whole of the United States pretty much green-lighted fully by the SEC chairman, Gary Gensler. And Ethereum is the only project they're working with. And this happened way before the ETF news was even announced. This has been in the works for years. So yeah, that's what he's referring to, and I completely understand. There could be some confusion on that matter. Now, the next news we're going to be talking about tonight's live show is Marathon Digital. Marathon Digital partners with Kenya, the Kenyan government essentially, to harness renewable energy regarding Bitcoin mining operations. Bitcoin mining operations are definitely expanding. I mean, Kenya's government isn't the only one. They're going to be doing Bitcoin mining essentially operations in quite a lot of African nations, essentially. Quite a lot of African countries are jumping on board this whole Bitcoin mining wave that's going on, mainly because obviously they're going to be profiting from it. We also have the Block, for example, and Jack Dorsey. So he has his own essentially Bitcoin corporation going on as well. They're going to be using volcano power. They're going to be established in one of these African countries as well. And they said they're going to be providing free electricity for communities around them, free Wi-Fi for communities around them. They're going to be using renewable energy. So all of this is absolutely amazing. But the contract for Marathon Digital was just signed today by the Kenyan authorities. And a Bitcoin mining operation is about to be set up in Kenya. Bitcoin mining operations are definitely expanding worldwide. This was never the case beforehand, but now it is, because Marathon Digital also has backings from BlackRock. They're also a majority shareholder in Marathon Digital. So is Vanguard. Somebody that's, Vanguard goes around and says volatile assets, Bitcoin's volatile, cryptocurrency volatile, but they are essentially one of the majority shareholders in Marathon Digital and the other Bitcoin mining institutions as well. So for once, Bitcoin mining institutions have a lot of money to play around with. They definitely have a lot of money to play around with. And this is quite big news on terms of Bitcoin expanding as well. But we'll go through that in a bit. Let's go inside the comment section for now. Hi, Miles and CMF. George, good to see you as well. How you doing? Clayton, not Clinton. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Tor, good to see you as well. How you doing? Woodhouse, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? Good evening, Miles and all CMF. Emon, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been, brother? Missed Miles and CMF a lot. Let's go, Woodhouse. Woodhouse, how you been, brother? How's work going? How is everyone doing today? I'm doing great, Emon. How you doing? Orphan, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hello, Miles and CMF. Pure, good to see you as well. How you doing? Evening. When lawsuit ends, do you think they will apply for an XRP ETF same week? They could do. Regarding essentially XRP ETFs, let's just say the case ends. So what Messi is referring to inside the comment section right now, his question is, when lawsuit ends, when the Ripple versus SEC lawsuit ends, do you think they will apply for an XRP ETF same week? Same week, I don't know. But on the topic of on the topic of XRP ETFs, yes, that's definitely going to be happening. XRP ETFs makes quite a lot of sense, actually. And also, regarding Brad himself, he stated that they're open to the idea as well. Now, I do think, obviously, there are much more topics that Ripple should be focused on right after the lawsuit. There's bigger topics to handle. But the ETF situation obviously helps boost the XRP ecosystem as well, brings it onto the good side of essentially Wall Street. So yes, I do think they're going to be doing it without a doubt. Do I think they're going to be applying the same week? That should be interesting. But are they going to do it? Yes, I believe so, 100%, in my opinion. Stormy, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hello, hey, Miles of CMF. Let's go, Stormy. This is the best time ever to be in crypto, is what Iman said, and I agree. Facts. I think they will apply same month. Same month, maybe. Same week was an interesting one. But they're definitely going to be applying. XRP ETFs is definitely going to be happening. Either way, it's going to be happening. I'm good, thanks. Working on my project with my partner before going better than expected. Before going better than expected. So it's going good. Let's go. What else? Marathon Digital. Marathon Digital partners with Kenya to harness renewable energy regarding Bitcoin mining institutions. The Bitcoin mining firm Marathon Digital has signed a major deal with the Ministry of Energy of Kenya. Sealed today, May 24th, 2024, the agreement provides for partnership that will see the BTC miner harness the country's energy for Bitcoin mining. Marathon to tap into Kenya's renewable energy. Marathon struck the deal during Kenya's President William Ruto's state visit to the US. According to the company, the agreement will see more than $80 million invested in green data centers to boost renewable energy and optimization in the Republic of Kenya. This agreement with the Ministry of Energy is a pivotal moment for our business as it provides us with a clear framework to pursue essentially opportunities across the Republic of Kenya, said Fred, Marathon Digital's chairman and CEO, in a press release. The company will work with the Kenyan government and other stakeholders essentially to support initiatives aimed at the optimizing energy usage across the country, as well as developments essentially of key technological infrastructures, he added. Today's agreement follows an earlier consultation between Marathon and Kenya. Now, I reviewed essentially conversations going on between Marathon and Kenya a while ago on this live show, but today is the day they signed the contract, with this deal set to boost the country's renewable energy sector. The MOEP and Marathon Digital are set to exchange policy, scientific, and technological information, as well as project investment expertise, to better understand how to optimize renewable energy projects that produce surplus energy due to seasonal variations, the company said in a press release. Recent data showed that Kenya's renewable energy sources accounted for over 80% of the country's electricity generation. Of these renewable energy or clean energy sources, geothermal essentially is the largest, geothermal. So just also put in perspective, except from, obviously it is massive news and it does show the adoption rate of Bitcoin happening. And the next news also we're going to be talking about tonight's live show is regarding OKX Exchange leaving Hong Kong, which is bad, but we'll talk about it. But this is quite massive in terms of what's Marathon Digital doing. And Marathon Digital is not the only one. The rest of the Bitcoin mining institutions are also doing this, but also governments are doing this as well. For example, Russia. Russia has also decided to set up a Bitcoin mining farm, not in Russia, ironically, but in an African nation and also in a Latin American nation. So a lot of this is going on in terms of not just these Bitcoin mining institutions trying to expand Bitcoin's range, but also governments are doing it as well. And they don't want to do it in their own countries. They preferably want to do it in other countries. But the other countries are also getting an income. It's creating jobs in terms of employees. It's providing some free electricity in local communities. So it has its positives as well. Now, before I read your next news, let's go inside the comment section. Evening Miles on CMF, a cool 99 degrees here. Sempre, good to see you. How you doing? Well done, Woodhouse. Definitely, Iman. Woodhouse, honestly, facts. Definitely well done. I bet they got those XRP ETF apps drawn up and sitting in their safe, waiting for their green light for XRP. Is what Stormy said. I agree. I feel like Ripple has a lot of plans just prepared for the day the case comes to an end, for them to go ahead straight away. Currently 89 Fahrenheit or 31.7 Celsius here in Las Vegas is nice indoors with fans on. That is incredibly hot. Miles, I've heard that Binance is not going to be around for a long time. From Andrew. What's your thoughts, please? Andrew? Andrew who? In terms of a Binance going to be around for a long time, I feel like it's going to be sticking around. No, there was a time period that Binance wasn't going to stick around. And that was when CZ was running the show. Now, again, CZ, amazing person, intelligent. I respect him so much. He did a lot for the crypto space on the early days. Incredible, man. Putting that to one side. They didn't like the idea of Binance. I mean, governments, typically, the American government didn't really like Binance because they had too much control of the market space, and CZ had too much control. So after removing CZ, replacing their CEOs for Binance.us, also for normal Binance, there's no excuse for them to bring them down. They can just still keep them around. Obviously, if they wanted to use Binance as a psyop to essentially bring down the entire market space and create an FTX situation, they could. There are a lot of American entities, American government entities right now inside of Binance, quite a lot, about 6 of them. And also, recently, Binance got their license back from Florida as well. They were in a court battle of a suspension of their license in Florida, which they got back. So it seems like Binance is going to be picking up slowly. Now, is Binance going to remain number one over time? No. I feel like Coinbase will become number one over time. One, because it's American, and I've always said, Coinbase will become the number one crypto exchange in the entire world. Not overnight, over time. But is Binance going to stick around? Yes, definitely. In my opinion, it's going to stick around. Now, as I said, they can use it as an FTX situation or bring it down if they wanted to. Somewhere down the line, there's a possibility. But is it going to stick around? For now, I would say definitely yes. Now, 2, is it going to remain number 1 moving forward? No. Coinbase will become number 1 eventually. That's why I've always said, if you're in Coinbase stock, you're good to go. Over time, you're going to do quite well if you're in Coinbase stock. But no, I don't think they're going to do that, unless they do use it for a FTX type of situation. It's a possibility. And what I mean by that is, obviously everyone knows about the FTX situation, but what I exactly mean by that is the China situation, where this massive real estate company all of a sudden takes the market down with it. Now, some people might say, oh, we never saw this coming. But if you look at the data records, this company the Chinese real estate company was actually in default on their payments since about 5 years before it went down. For 5 years, it couldn't pay its loans off. For 4 years, it couldn't pay its loans off. For 4 years, it was borrowing more money, and the banks knew it can't pay it back. Sometimes inside the corporate sector, they fatten up companies and they make them bigger and bigger and bigger into a bubble. And when the time is correct, they pop the bubble. They pop the bubble, so it takes the market down with it. So sometimes they do plan, these company failures on purpose. The Chinese real estate company was in default on their payments for about a good 4 years, but they'll still get money from the banks. The banks knew they can't pay it back, but they'll borrow them on purpose. China was borrowing them money on purpose. They knew they can't pay it back. So sometimes they use tactics like that to bring the market down as well. They fatten companies up on purpose to later on burst them and then takes the market down with it. It happens all the time inside the corporate sector. Sometimes big companies that happens to, sometimes medium, sometimes small companies. But that's what I mean regarding Binance. They can do that, maybe. But are they going to do that? I don't think they'll do it for the time being, no. Carol, good to see you. How you doing? Hello, Miles of CMF. Let's go. Thanks, Miles. What else? No, let's go. I've always backed Binance, as you said, but that's the first bad news I've heard. Fair enough, Iman. I mean, I've always preferred Binance as an exchange, and that was when CZ was running the show, but still a good exchange. Now, OKX exchange, on the topic of exchanges, OKX exchange, which is still a big exchange as well, OKX. They have now withdrawn their essentially license application from Hong Kong. The well-known crypto exchange OKX announced its decision to withdraw its virtual asset service provider license application from Hong Kong. Now, why should you know information like this? Why is it important to know, OKX Exchange has withdrawn their application from Hong Kong? How is that any sort of relevance? Well, the relevance part is if you are using OK Exchange or you're holding OKB tokens, it's good to know if there's going to be any sort of, exchanges maybe going bust, chapter 11, chapter 15 type of situations. Now, I'm not saying OKX is going to, but this is the first application they've withdrawn. If we see a repeated situation regarding OKX withdrawing their applications, then it's the alarms start going off, and then you know obviously what to do next, short the markets. Now, the well-known crypto exchange OKX announced its decision to withdraw its application regarding its licensing in Hong Kong. In a notice posted on OKX's blog, the exchange cited careful consideration of its business strategies as an inspiration for the decision. Essentially, though it did not provide any sort of details on why they've withdrawn their application. That's where the alarm starts to come in. As a result, them will halt its centralized, essentially, crypto exchange services for Hong Kong residents by May 31st in compliance with local regulatory requirements. User funds remain safe. The exchange reassured users that their funds remain safe. However, it noted that deposits made after May 31st may not be automatically credited and open doors will be cancelled. Post May 31st, the only available function for Hong Kong residents will be withdrawals, which will be supported until August 31st. After this date, any remaining balances will be deemed unclaimed property and essentially under this platform's terms. The initial VASP application that they did, them had essentially submitted its VASP applications to the Hong Kong Securities and Futures Commission on November 16th is when OKX did this, but decided to withdraw its application as confirmed by the SFC's website now. Virtual asset trading platforms operating in Hong Kong, which have not submitted their license applications to the SFC by 29th of February 2024, must close down their businesses in Hong Kong by 31st of May 2024. Investors using these platforms should make preparations essentially moving forward as well. And OKX also reminded customers that its Web3 self-custodial wallet, which is separate from its centralized exchange services, will remain unaffected and available to local users. The industry-wide impact. Following the introduction of a new licensing regulation by Hong Kong's legislative councils in December 2022, OKX and several other crypto exchanges like Gate. Essentially Hong Kong and Huobi. Hong Kong as well have withdrawn their applications for their licenses in Hong Kong as well. This action comes as OKX expands its operation with new licensing services in Dubai, Turkey, and Australia. Also, OKX did apply for India's essentially licenses also, if they haven't got a green light about it. But this is the first application essentially OKX has withdrawn so far. I don't want to see a repeated situation regarding OKX. If I do see repeated situations happening with OKX, I particularly hold OKB token, which is their exchange's token. So if I do see repeated situations happening with OKX regarding withdrawing their applications, it's going to raise alarms for me, and I'm probably going to get small downsize my position on OKB if they do that. Now, also, it's not an indication of any sort of financial advice for anybody else that's holding OKB tokens. But yeah, you should definitely know about exchanges that are going to be withdrawing their application. And it shows essentially the adoption rate of essentially in terms of regulations, that regulations are getting much more stricter. Is it because the regulations are getting much more stricter in Hong Kong? Probably is. And it's probably the reason why they're not telling anybody why they're withdrawing the application. Now, the next news is quite a big one depending on how you see it. Now, there are 3 cases technically going on, not the Ripple, Binance, and Coinbase cracking case. No, put that one to one side. There's actually 3 other cases going on, which a lot of people don't talk about inside the crypto space. One of them is the Gemini case, one of them is the Genesis case, and the other one essentially is the FTX case, which is paybacks. Okay, so which means they have to pay people back. Now, this could be their large investors, medium investors, or small investors. And this is definitely going to impact the market regarding Genesis, Gemini, and FTX. It's definitely going to impact the market on the payback situation. So regarding Genesis, it's definitely going to be volatile when they decide to pay back people, their users that were using their earn program. Genesis and Gemini, it's definitely going to be volatile for the market space at that particular time, because they're going to be paying back their users using some cryptocurrencies, about 50 to 50 ratio or 60 to 40 ratio. They're going to be paying back them cryptocurrencies and cash, which means the people that get back their cryptocurrencies could sell, which creates a volatile space inside the market space when the Gemini and Genesis situation happens on the payback. And it's not that far off. It's going to be happening this year. Now, the FTX situation, where they're going to be crediting people back, is different. It's not going to be volatile, and it's not going to be bearish when they do it. It's actually going to be bullish when FTX pays back all their users, because FTX has auctioned off all of their tokens, to then credit their users with cash, essentially fiat currencies, which means everybody that lost money with FTX, large, small, medium investors, anybody that lost money with FTX is going to get credited back in fiat, which means they have money, which means they're going to be using that money to invest into the market space. So the FTX downfall was bearish. If you short the market, it was bullish for you. At that particular time and moment, you probably made a lot of money shorting the market on FTX. But so, in other words, the downfall was bearish for the majority of the crypto space. But the return of FTX, not the return, but the payback of FTX, or paying back their creditors, is going to be bullish, because they're not going to give out cryptocurrencies. They're going to give out fiat, which means all of their users will have money to spend, and most likely they're going to be re-entering the crypto space with their newfound money, which creates a bullish event on buying purchases, on volume coming in. So Genesis and Gemini will create a bearish situation when essentially they credit back their users. But the FTX situation, they're not giving out cryptocurrencies to people, they're giving out fiat, which means they're going to start spending them. The people are going to be re-entering the crypto space and purchasing cryptocurrencies. That's if they want to, if they're not, scared to ever enter the crypto space again after the FTX situation. But the majority of it is going to be a bullish sign. Now, before we go through that news, let's just go inside the comment section one sec regarding FTX. Before we go through that news, let's go here. Being Irish, I do like the change in the weather. Hi, Miles, the CMF. Mike, good to see you. How you doing? Shelly, no, try low. Deal with the heat. It was 2 days ago. Lena, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? So, FTX. FTX no longer to sell Solana as auction has ended. So FTX was actually auctioning off quite a lot of their tokens. Actually, all of their tokens. And they were selling it in bulk price at a much more lower price. Now, the people that they sold it to, they could cause market volatility as well. And the users on the other side, they're going to be credited back in fiat, could create a bullish sign for the market space. So I'll explain. FTX no longer sells Solana as auction has ended. As reported by Bloomberg, the estate of the essentially cryptocurrency exchange has finished selling a collection of Solana tokens worth $2.6 billion after conducting auctions for several weeks. So within several weeks, they were able to get rid of $2.6 billion worth of Solana tokens. This significant event attracted notable buyers such as Pantoro Capital and Figure Markets, who seized the opportunity to acquire the tokens at a deeply discounted price. FTX Solana token sale will help settle its debts. According to the people familiar with the matter, through undisclosed documentations, Figure Market paid $80 million for a block of 800,000 coins. Figure Market paid $80 million for 800,000 coins of Solana. Although the auction result has not been released, another individual familiar with the matter mentioned that Figure paid about $102 per token, signifying a steep discount compared to the market price of $166. As per the reports, Pandora's Capital did not disclose the exact price it paid for the token. However, it was recorded that the firm bought it at a discounted price. Meanwhile, Solana's token sale was one of the critical steps in FTX's efforts to settle its debts and reimburse its creditors. Pantoro raised funds to acquire the discounted Solana tokens. Recall that in March, Pantoro Capital, a premier asset manager from asset totaling about $5.2 billion, started raising funds from institutional investors to acquire a deeply discounted Solana tokens from the estate of the bankrupt crypto exchange FTX. The investment opportunity known as Pandora's Solana Fund aims to raise capital to purchase up to $250 million of Solana tokens from the FTX exchange at a discounted rate, which they already have done now. As observed by Bloomberg, participants in the Pandora Solana Fund can purchase Solana tokens at a discount of 39% below the 30-day average price, or a fixed rate of $59.95. So investors from Pandora were buying essentially Solana for $59.95 per token. Nevertheless, the investors must adhere to a 4-year vesting period to access this purchasing opportunity. Meanwhile, the purchase is to deflect market pressure on the token's value. FTX essentially predicts repaying creditors in full. In a filing submitted to the United States Bankruptcy Court for the District of Delaware, the FTX attorney, Andy, from law firm Civilian, essentially stated that the exchange could predict, coincidentally, a fully repaying users and creditors, fully paying them back, but added that this was an objective and not a guarantee. Because their bigger investors will be paid first, and then the medium investors will be paid first, and then the little guys, if there's any money left, is what they're essentially saying in a very simple term. He added that after an essentially after the efforts that they went through, the bankrupt exchange decided not to focus on a reboot. So FTX exchange is not coming back ever. They dubbed FTX 2.0 and rather pay the creditors in full. Yeah, they decided to never ever in their lives ever again launch FTX 2.0. FTX is dead. It's never coming back. But they have decided to pay back everybody in full. Now, they did say it's not a guarantee that everybody gets paid back in full, but the majority will be. But yeah, this is definitely going to impact the market space in a positive way, as long as the Pandora. Here's the thing. So regarding FTX situation, even though FTX is still out the picture, it's still having an impact on the market space. So 2 scenarios regarding FTX. One could be bearish and 2 is bullish. So 1, the bearish part. The people that are buying essentially the $59 Solanos per coin, $59 per coin of Solano, they could start a selling pressure if they wanted to. They're buying $59 worth of Solano per coin, and on the market space it's a lot more. So they could obviously start a selling pressure because they brought it at a ridiculous cheap discount, and they could drop it and make a hefty amount of profit for themselves whenever they want. Now, the bullish side, putting the Pandora and the discounts and so on the side. The bullish side is the creditors are going to be paid back in cash, essentially in fiat, which means they're going to be doing the volume essentially on purchasing power. So they would bring the volume. The creditors of FTX that lost money on FTX exchange, they're going to come back into the market space with a lot of money and bring in that volume into the market space. And on the other side, the Pandora capital and the figure market capital that acquired, ridiculous cheap discounts on Solana, they could cause a selling pressure. So there's a positive and a negative side of this FTX situation. But you can make money from both sides. One shorting, one longing. That's only if you know how to do futures. Now, but that's definitely going to be causing, I think, mostly positive. And I don't think they're going to be dropping their Solanos at this moment in time. I think once Solana starts to climb, they will definitely drop it. If Solana reaches an all-time new high, a very, very good all-time new high, then I could potentially see, capital or figure market space, market managing funds drop their Solana on the market space. I mean, they brought it at $59 per token. That's a good profit. If Solana reaches a good all-time new high, they could definitely drop it. Anybody would. You would. If you had purchased essentially $80 million worth of Solana at a rate of, by the way, they're selling it at a rate of $59 to their investors. But if you bought Solana at the rate of $40 per token, the price is sitting at right now in the market space is a lot higher. But behind the scenes, you could buy Solana for about $40 per token. And you have to spend about $80 million. So you can make a ridiculous amount of profit if you drop it on the market. Not now, when Solana reaches an all-time new high. A really good all-time new high. Anybody would. I would drop it, you would drop it, everybody would drop it on the market space. So the potential possibility of that happening is somewhere down the line. Now, the next news to go from tonight's live show, but it also has a positive side about it, about the creditors. The creditors are coming back inside the market space with newfound money. So there's a bullish side about it as well. Coinbase. And the creditors is bullish for the entire market space, not just for Solana. Where the creditors are coming back with new money, it's bullish for the entire crypto space. If the manager situation, the capital situation dumps Solana because they brought a discount, that's only Solana's fault. The rest of the market won't be much as affected. But the creditors coming back inside the market space with newfound money from Solana's payback agreements, that's going to be positive for the entire market space, not just for Solana. Now, Coinbase. Coinbase SEC spar essentially over investment definitions and appeal attempt. So the Coinbase SEC situation is still going on, and essentially Coinbase did something quite interesting. Now, when the FIT21 Act came into play, I said that if Coinbase, Ripple, Kraken, anybody, any of these cases going on, I said if their lawyers are smart enough, they can introduce the FIT21 Act inside of their lawsuit and play it in their favor. Now that's what happened with Coinbase. Coinbase's lawyers decided to play essentially on the favorable part of the FIT21 Act and wrap up their case against the SEC. So Coinbase SEC spar over investment definition in an appeal attempt. Coinbase has leaned heavily into case law in its latest volley against the United States Securities and Exchange Commission and has come to a rare conclusion. The SEC seeks to step side the Howey test because in the FIT21 Act and essentially what they were talking in Congress as well, they actually said the Howey test makes no relevance to any sort of case scenarios. So Coinbase filed a new document in support of its appeal. An appeal against the single ruling in an ongoing case. Against the single ongoing case on May 24th, so today. The document is in response to the SEC's opposition to its original request for such an appeal. Coinbase filed its appeal on April 12th, disputing a March 27 ruling that the SEC had shown essentially sufficient grounds to claim the cryptocurrency exchange staking program was an unregistered securities offering. Now, the SEC is doubling down on this whole security situation and staking. Coinbase claimed that the control question, essentially the main issue at stake and a necessary element, is essentially the appeal that's going on. In the SEC's suit is whether an investment contract requires a contractual essential undertaking. In this appeal opposing the original Coinbase essentially appeal, the SEC argued that the court had deemed a post-sale undertaking for the application of Howey. In its May 24th filing, Coinbase countered. So Coinbase did make a statement on X regarding the appeal they did today. The SEC, this is what Coinbase said on X. The SEC ignores the courts in the 70 years since the Supreme Court ruling that established the Howey test has found that an investment contract absent a post-sale contractual undertakings. That in turn makes the issue ripe for the court's decision and not the eventual application settled law, Coinbase said. It also found, now this is the interesting part, Coinbase decided to bring in Ripple's case inside of their recent appeal today. So Coinbase did appeal today, and they mentioned the Ripple case in their appeal today to the SEC. So it also found that the SEC claims in suit against Ripple to be inconsistent with those in Coinbase's case, and noted that the House of Representatives just days earlier passed a bill that would deny the SEC the expensive jurisdictions it claims. The SEC filed against Coinbase in June 2023, alleging violations of security laws. Beside the claims about the staking programs, the SEC said 13 of its cryptocurrencies were listed as securities. One of them was Solana as well, inside the Coinbase case. Now, Coinbase has been quite proactive in its self-defense and defense of the crypto industry. In June, days after the SEC suit was filed, it launched the Stand With Crypto campaign. Now, if you don't know what the Stand With Crypto campaign is, that Coinbase, Ripple, Kraken, and a few others started together, is about $78 million fund they started to pay essentially politicians to become pro-crypto in terms of donations, which now includes a political action committee, which it does, because the Stand With Crypto really did work. A lot of politicians, all of a sudden became crypto friendly. We're getting crypto bills passed, everybody's going against Gary Gensler and the SEC, and it's just because that's how you do things in politics. You don't do it. Nobody cares if you're right or wrong in politics. But if you make the numbers work, they can make it look either way. They can make it look like you're right or you're wrong. It's all about the numbers. By numbers, I mean donations. And $76 million fund is more than enough of a number. Standard Chartered Bank is the next news we're going to be talking about in tonight's live show. We're going to Standard Chartered Bank, XRP, and Solana ETFs. If you go through that, let's go start the conversation. Let's see what's there. What up, Miles and family? Hope all is well. Though, Ray, good to see you, brother. How you doing? How you been? So, Standard Chartered Bank. Standard Chartered Bank, XRP, ETF next, and Solana. The analysts are projecting spot Solana and Ripple ETFs in 2025, following the approval of the Ethereum ETFs that recently happened. First, a spot Bitcoin ETF, then a spot Ethereum ETF. What is next? Some analysts have essentially forecasted Solana as the next project due for an ETF, but Standard Chartered Bank's analyst, Jeffrey, echoed that Ripple's XRP ETF could also come in 2025. This is what he said, word for word. Now, he is a Standard Chartered Bank analyst, so his opinion holds some sort of a weight. For other coins, example Solana and XRP, markets will look ahead to their eventual ETF status as well. A bit this is like 2025 story, not 2024 one. After the US Securities and Exchange Commission SEC confirmed the approval of the spot Ethereum ETFs, momentum for other crypto ETFs has been building, which is true. Because, a lot of people did not agree regarding any other ETFs, especially Bitcoin maxes. Everybody who's really, Bitcoin only, Bitcoin everything, those types of people. And I've never understood anybody like that. I always say, don't, regarding crypto assets, it's just numbers. It's a way for you to make an income. It's a way for you to, fix your life position and so on. And I always say, don't treat crypto projects. Don't treat crypto projects like it's a religion or a football team. You should never be emotionally attached to anything in terms of the market space. Essentially being passionate about the blockchain technology about it, that's okay. Being passionate about the blockchain part about it, that's okay. But being, blindsided and only focus on one thing, no, this is it, you miss things around you. And that's what's happened with Bitcoin maxis. And a lot of them did say, Ethereum ETFs will never happen, or any other ETF will never happen because Bitcoin is the chosen one. Well, look, I'll be honest, everything has a positive and a negative. Bitcoin has its positives, but it also has quite a bit of negatives as well. Ethereum has its positives, but it also has its negatives. Every project does. Everything does in this world in terms of tech. So, now, regarding this scenario, after the US exchange essentially approved this, nobody saw coming except Eric. Let's go, Eric, from Bloomberg ETF analyst. We've always taken him as a consideration as an outcome on this live show. Now, Ripple's CEO Brad hinted at this possibility through a social media post celebrating the SEC's approval, calling it a momentous occasion for the industry. So even Brad, Ripple's CEO, he was ecstatic regarding Ethereum getting an ETF because it's positive for the entire crypto space. Essentially, it opens the door to an alternatives, range of ETFs, not just Bitcoin. A spot crypto ETF tracks the price of a specific crypto and investment portfolio funds into that crypto. These funds are traded on public exchanges, but generally track a particular crypto. Like similar funds, crypto ETFs are essentially on the regular stock exchange, and investors can keep them in their standard brokerage accounts. In other words, crypto ETFs allow retail traders to gain direct exposure to crypto prices without directly owning the asset, not just retail investors, but also corporate investors. XRP's path to spot ETF. The ongoing lawsuit between Ripple and the SEC, in which the SEC accuses Ripple of selling unregistered securities, represents a significant hurdle to spot ETFs. The outcome of this litigation will be crucial in determining not only Ripple's future, but its essentially viability of an XRP ETF. The legal uncertainty around Ripple has held the price of XRP back. A lawsuit resolution is expected this summer, and in favorable, XRP should see a price hike. Positive sentiments. This spot Ethereum ETF sentiment comes as a positive time for crypto industry, both from a political and pricing perspective. The House of essentially Representatives passed the Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act as well, FIT 21, essentially communicating with the crypto industry that the US is welcome to crypto, as in the US has opened their arms to cryptocurrencies. Yes, that's exactly what it does show, and it definitely is obviously a massive positive regarding that matter. But yes, Ethereum ETFs does show that other ETFs can be accepted, and it's not just Bitcoin all the way. And a lot more people should be a lot more open-minded. Now, IMF is the next news we're about to go from tonight's live show. The International Monetary Fund praises Zimbabwe's gold-backed currency. Now, if you didn't know, Zimbabwe has a gold-backed blockchain project. By their token, the name of the token is called ZIG, essentially. Yeah, we're about to go through that on tonight's live show, but before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section. So, Miles, with all the info you give us on a daily basis, man, we can't thank you enough for keeping us informed and grounded daily through all this manipulation. You are 1 in a million helping the CMF. Free and forever. Thank you so much for the kind words, brother. Thank you so much for the kind words. I no longer feel any emotion during dips or negative infos. Thanks a lot, Miles. Let's go free and forever. That's the best thing I could have heard from any members of the CMF. The last part that you said, I no longer feel any emotions during dips or negative info. Thanks a lot, Miles. That's the best thing I could have heard from any member of CMF. That's all I want from every single one of you, just to have that corporate mindset, to not be with emotions inside the market space. A lot of people, assume they don't have emotions inside the market space, but the majority of people do. So let's go pretty further. Thank you for the kind words, and I'm happy that you're inside the market space with zero emotions moving forward, and I appreciate that. It's because of me. Let's go. Best thing I could have heard. I'm sorry, I'm in love with X. JP is obviously inside the comment. JP says, I'm sorry, but I'm in love with XRP. Now, what JP means is he's in love with the technology that XRP has. With the blockchain, essentially. He's passionate. So JP is passionate about the blockchain part of XRP, which is fine, regarding that, because that's not emotional attachment, because you're passionate about the tech. Yeah, facts. It's just because I hate crypto, it is confusing and difficult to buy, but you got to know it's for the future. Facts. Mouse, can we ask how's everyone been taking profits? You can if you want to. Emo has asked, has anyone been taking profits? Hollow Miles and CMF. Peg, good to see you as well. How you doing, Peg? How you been? I feel the same. Let's go, Camel. Let's go, Camel. Honestly, best thing anybody could have said to me from the CMF is they have zero emotions now going inside the market space. Best thing. Now, let's go, Camel. Let's go free and forever. I stopped investing in XRP at the moment. I stopped investing in XRP in the moment. Okay, IMF, International Monetary Fund, praises Zimbabwe's gold-backed currency initiative. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has highlighted Zimbabwe's recent introduction of a gold-backed fiat currency as a noteworthy essentially policy measure. This statement marks the International Monetary Fund's first significant essentially on the currency since its inception. The global financial institution has also announced its intentions to send a team in June to assess the new currency's performance. The International Monetary Fund's initial concerns and current perspectives on Zimbabwe's currency reforms. The gold-backed currency referred to as ZIG has been recognized by the International Monetary Fund as an important policy step. This acknowledgement comes as the International Monetary Fund shared plans to essentially evaluate the currency in the upcoming months. According to reports, the International Monetary Fund's comments represents its most comprehensive assessment of Zimbabwe's new currency since the ZIG was launched over a month ago. The perspective appears to differ from the International Monetary Fund's earlier criticism regarding the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe introduction of gold-backed digital currencies. Previously, So in other words, the International Monetary Fund was not happy at the beginning, but now they're ecstatic. Previously, as reported, the International Monetary Fund had expressed concerns about the RBZ's decisions to launch a gold-backed digital currency. The global lender argued that this move could threaten the financial stability. Instead, the International Monetary Fund recommended that Zimbabwe should focus on liberalizing its foreign markets rather than pursuing digital currency route for gold-backed tokens. Despite these initial reservations, the International Monetary Fund, in a recent email response, praised the Zimbabwe, essentially governments and banks, for implementing several key reforms, including the introduction of the ZIG. The introduction of the ZIG represents the important policy action complemented by several other policy changes, including monetary, exchange rate, and fiscal policy measures. That is quite big regarding Zimbabwe and their ZIG, which is a backed gold currency. Now, it is going to be on the digital blockchain space. Essentially, it's going to be backed on blockchain as well, by the name of ZIG. So, yeah, it's honestly amazing for Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is going to do incredibly well if they stick on this route of being inside the digital space moving forward. Especially creating a gold-backed currency, they're definitely going to be helping their economy. As long as the government does the right thing in Zimbabwe and help and improve their communities and so on, yes, that's going to be great. If he just takes the money for himself like any other government, then that's going to be bad. So I'm hoping the government does the right thing in Zimbabwe and, uses that money that comes in and, expands on their idea of blockchain technology and helps to grow their country's economy. So good news on that. And now, London Stock Exchange. I revealed a while ago on this live show that the London Stock Exchange is about to be launching, for the first time ever, from Wisdom Tree, Bitcoin and Ethereum ETPs. The London Stock Exchange is going to be launching, I revealed a few nights ago on this live show, essentially Bitcoin and Ethereum ETPs. Now, something interesting has happened on that matter, and we're about to go through it right now, but before we go through it, let's go inside the comment section. So, it's too early to take profit. I agree with Chozon. I agreed 100 with these conclusions. Let's go, Leroy. Miles not accepting the staking part of the ETH ETF, will it affect the projects that does liquid restaking protocols on Ethereum? Possibility. I mean, look, there is no such thing wrong. There's nothing wrong with staking in any sort of a way. And Gary Gensler is, he fully understands this. As I said previously, Gary Gensler taught MIT students essentially about what is blockchain, what is stake. So he fully understands that staking helps to maintain the blockchain. By maintaining the blockchain, you get a reward on top of it and so on. So he understands that it's not technically secure in any sort of a way. He's just being a ARSE is what Gary Gensler is being. He's just being the weasel that he is. And the reason why, Congress had to jump in, CFTC had to jump in to fix this, wave of misinformation Gary Gensler is bringing to the table in terms of cryptocurrencies. And the man fully understands. Gary Gensler, believe it or not, he might look like he has the brain cells of a goldfish, but he's intelligent. He's a very intelligent man. He's very intelligent and he understands what he's doing. Essentially wasting everybody's time. He understands that he's wasting everybody's time. He understands that he's creating regulations out of thin air. And he's being called out on it multiple times. But nobody can fire the guy, except the President of the United States. But obviously we have more difficulties in that scenario because Sleepy Joe can't walk, talk, stand, move to the left, move to the right, speak. So, we have our own issues with that scenario, Sleepy Joe. So he knows that he can't be fired, and he's the only man that can fire him. And the only man that can fire him actually has 2 brain cells left, Sleepy Joe. Have you seen Sleepy Joe's recent interview? He said, we can't be re-elected. We won't be re-elected. Vote for Donald Trump. How are people voting for this Sleepy Joe's, essentially, it just makes no sense. There are people actually standing behind Sleepy Joe going, yes, this is our next president. The guy can't even make, But yeah, so, essentially what I am trying to say is Gary Gensler knows that nobody can remove him, so he makes things up out of thin air and goes to court with it and, gets called out on it by Congress and CFTC chairmen and even the courts, the judges calling him out on the debit box case scenario because he pulls things out of thin air. So he's intelligent enough and he knows what he's doing. But obviously someone is definitely pulling his strings as well. And there is nothing wrong with staking at all. So, look, For the time being, it might bring some difficulties regarding staking, but after that time period passes, no, we'll be perfectly fine regarding crypto staking. Hello CMF, I hope that you had a good day. Scott, let's go. How you doing, brother? How you been? Hello Miles, how you doing today? How's your parents? How's your business been today? Business doing very well. Thanks so much for asking, Scott. My parents are very well as well. Thanks so much for asking. How's your family doing, Scott? How you been? I'm also selling some of my crypto for better products. Interesting. Let's go. I'm hoping legitimate projects. As in you're going for legitimate projects. I assume we agree that XRP, XLM, XDC, and ACH still has a positive and strong future. Yes. In my opinion, my perspective, XRP, XLM, XDC, and ACH, massive. They're going to be absolutely massive. Not overnight, over time. They're going to be absolutely massive. XRP, XLM, XDC, and ACH have more contracts and more licenses combined together than the entire crypto space put together. Just think about that for a second. XRP, XLM, XDC, and ACH have more contracts and more licensings as a group than the entire cryptocurrency put together. Just think about it. So yes, Scott, definitely. I believe in their future 100%, 1,000,000%. I believe in a positive future for XRP, XLM, XDC, and ACH. What will BRICS use for currency? Well, BRICS is going to be using essentially their own types of currencies. BRICS essentially is aiming to launch their own currency, but look, BRICS is going to have difficulties because all the BRICS nations are under the Bank of International Settlements, including so Russia, China, Brazil, all of them. They're all under the Bank of International Settlements. So is the United States. They're under the Bank of G20 countries. They're all under the Bank of International Settlements. So they're going to be venturing out, building their own currency, but it's the Bank of International Settlements helping them out, actually. Now, the end result is actually going to be that they're going to have their own CBDC. So obviously China has a CBDC, Russia's coming out with a digital rupee CBDC, Brazil's coming out with their CBDC, it's called DREX. India has their own CBDC already active. Not that many people are using it in India, but they're using it. So they're not going to obviously be using each other's CBDCs because no country is, essentially dumb enough to use another country's CBDC because China knows that Russia can manipulate their CBDC. It's freezable, seizable. They can freeze it, seize it, put expiry dates. You can do so many things to CBDC. So no country is what I'm trying to say is will trust another country's CBDC. That's never going to happen. So stablecoins. Now stablecoins have that feature of programmable features, but not as much as CBDCs. So stablecoins becomes the solution. In other words, a Chinese CBDC, a Chinese stablecoin, a Russian stablecoin, a Brazilian stablecoin, an Indian stablecoin, and so on. And that could be used between each other. But then now you still need a middleman. Now there is one middleman working with the Bank of International Settlements. There's a PDF document, public document, in the Bank of International Settlements titled Cross-Border Payments. It's a PDF document from the Bank of International Settlements, the banks of all banks pretty much, of central banks, 63 centralized banks, G20 countries, most powerful countries on this planet. The title of the PDF document, Cross-Border Payments, has SWIFT on the PDF document of essentially a list of corporations that are going to be in the middle of cross-border payments with the Bank of International Settlements. On that, it says SWIFT. Right under SWIFT, it says Ripple. Because you need a middleman for these countries. Because as much as it might look like on the news, China and Russia are shaking hands and cuddling each other, Putin doesn't trust China and China doesn't trust Putin. As much as they want to make BRICS look, like this scenario of everybody's happy and it's this collective basket of communities, it's really not. It's politics. Politics is rough. Okay, politics is not happy and, la la land. Politics is rough, no matter how you look at it, if you understand what politics are. So they need a middleman. A middleman that's neutral, like Switzerland, for example. But that's what the Bank of International Settlements is bringing to the table regarding a middleman. So Ripple is in that play. SWIFT is also in that play as well, but SWIFT is also a political tool, so nobody likes using it. The main reason why SWIFT is going to be a downfall moving forward, it's going to completely go bust moving forward, is because it's not because SWIFT is slow or expensive, because they're fixing that with Chainlink. The main reason is SWIFT is a political tool. SWIFT goes around and sanctions other countries. That's the downfall of SWIFT, not because it's slow and expensive. It was always slow and expensive. People still used it. Every country still used it. The issue with the negative side of SWIFT is that it's a political tool, not a payment tool. It goes around and sanctions countries. Ripple doesn't go around and sanction countries. So that's the positive, a major positive that Ripple has over SWIFT. That SWIFT is a political tool and Ripple isn't. And they're both on the list of Bank of International Settlements PDF document titled Cross-Border Payments. I'm more than happy to share that document with anyone. It's a public document from the Bank of International Settlements. So, look, they're going to be using stablecoins, but they need the middleman. They can also use CBDCs between each other, but they still need the middleman because they won't trust each other's CBDCs. But they can trust a middleman currency between them. Are they going to make one? Probably not. It's been in the works for years, but it's not going to work out for them. America won't let that happen. And a lot of people think America's losing power, or it has no power, or the US dollar is going to fail and go to zero. We need to understand how the world actually operates, how the world spins. Is that America still has all the control and all the power. There's not a single country on this planet that wants to lose power. What country do you know goes, oh, we give up? There's not a single country that goes, we give up. We're about to go into a digital world. That means more control. And what universe do you think the United States government is going to say, yeah, we're going to give up our power, the dollar's going to go to zero, and that's it, we're done? Come on. You don't really believe that, do you? And you shouldn't. Because America still has the power. What's the number one currency in cryptocurrencies in terms of stablecoins? The number one currency in stablecoins inside the crypto space is the US dollar. It's not the Japanese, yen, or the Chinese yuan Chinese yuan stablecoin, or Russia's ruble stablecoin, or the British pound stablecoin, or the EU stablecoin. No, it's the US dollar. In a traditional world, the number one dominating currency, stable currency, is US dollar. In a digital world, is US dollar. Do you see where I'm going with this? And you think for a second that America might be losing power? Never going to happen. And they will take down USDT if they have to and replace them. But yeah, now regarding BRICS, they need a middleman. The middleman is the Bank of International Settlements, and the Bank of International Settlements will set them up in a positive way, not in a negative way. DeFi Daddy is very good. It was a weird name to have for someone. Like Miles, all his information is totally free, and his Discord is fabulous. Let's go, Iman. I sent you a message on Telegram. Kindly have a look at it. No problem, Lena. I'll take a look at it. No problem. After this live show. I also believe in XRP. It'll still make. I'll start investing when it breaks the £1 mark. Iman, would it be better for you to invest before it breaks the £1 mark? So weird method. Hey Miles, can you look into your crystal ball to see if there's any news on Fetch AI? So far, there's no news on Fetch AI. I mean, the only news that's going to be coming out is around May 26th. So obviously, right now we are at the 25th. Tomorrow is news that's going to be coming out regarding Fetch AI, because tomorrow's the merger regarding Fetch AI and Fetch AI, AJX, and Ocean. It's tomorrow. The merger, the super AI token, which is technically not a sign of strength, it's a sign of weakness for them to survive. So tomorrow we should have some news on it. Now, if I do find any news about it tomorrow, I'll definitely speak about it on the live show. I looked up Gary Gensler's net worth the other day. You would be shocked whether it's true or not. Who knows? True. You never know. What is your view on RSR? It's an alright project, RSR. How are you, Miles? I'm doing great. Ronnie, good to see how you've been. How do you think Shiba Inu will be affected with the Ethereum approval? I think regarding the Ethereum approval regarding ETFs, a lot of projects on essentially ETH are going to do quite well. It's going to bring a lot of adoption over time, because it is ETF approval on Ethereum. Over time, it's definitely going to bring quite a lot of adoption on the ETH chain. Definitely quite a lot of adoption on the ETH chain. Is some of that adoption going to go to Solana? I mean, to Shiba? Possibility. Even though I'm not a big fan of meme coins, there's a possibility that we're going to Shiba Inu as well. Now, that will happen. The US will do that. Yeah. So tomorrow, Ocean will disappear. No, slowly, slowly. Well, I think so. Maybe, but slowly, slowly. I'm making better gains with my other coins. I've got bags of XLP. Fair enough, Imon. Fair enough. Now, regarding the London Stock Exchange. The London Stock Exchange faces staffing crisis and plans for crypto ETP's debut. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge with us. No problem, Roy. Anytime, brother. The London Stock Exchange recently announced a few days ago, on this live show, I announced it as well, that they're going to be launching Bitcoin and Ethereum ETPs with Wisdom Tree. Now, something very odd and strange has happened. As the London Stock Exchange Group, LSE, prepares to list its crypto-linked products, it faces a significant hurdle. The loss of half of its four-person team responsible for overseeing the exchange-traded funds. Key departures include Michael Stanley, head of exchange-traded products, and Hitul Patel, head of business development, who have essentially played pivotal roles in the ETF team. In a very odd way, is what's happened is, so the London Stock Exchange announced they're going to be launching Bitcoin and Ethereum ETPs and ETFs later on. Now, the department in the London Stock Exchange that's going to be doing this, their members just quit. So the news comes out, London Stock Exchange listing Bitcoin and Ethereum ETPs, Wisdom Tree approved, from the Financial Conduct Authority approved. A few days later, the people that overlooked those projects and gave the green light from the London Exchange either got fired or they're not working there anymore, as in they quit. So the crypto ETP is gaining essentially ground in the UK. Now, does that mean it's going to be cancelled? By the looks of it, no. It's still positive, but odd, very odd. The timing is particularly sensitive. The timing is particularly sensitive as the London Stock Exchange gears up to introduce its first exchange-traded products, ETPs, tied to cryptocurrencies, marking a significant milestone in integrating crypto assets into the mainstream financial markets, which is definitely big news. As Bloomberg reported, these exits could complicate the London Stock Exchange's ongoing projects. The departure have reportedly made it challenging for the exchange to provide clear feedback on technical issues to crypto ETP issuers. The introduction of the crypto ETPs on the London Stock Exchange follows the Financial Conduct Authority's recent approval for the first set of such products inside the United Kingdom. So, if you're thinking maybe the issue arises from the FCA, these people quitting all of a sudden from the London Stock Exchange, no, the FCA approved it. But for an oddly reason, these people, after the approval, after the milestone was taken and the green light was given, they decided to either leave work or quit. It almost seems like somebody forced them to quit. So the launch gets delayed. Notably, Wisdom Trees Inc. has received authorization to list two physically backed crypto ETPs that will track Bitcoin and Ethereum. These ETPs, set to begin trading on May 28th, represents a significant development for the UK's financial markets, which have traditionally been cautious about crypto-related investment products. Unlike the broader accessibility in the markets like the United States and Hong Kong, these UK-listed crypto ETPs will be restricted to only professional investors. Not the retail section, professional investors only, or corporations can purchase the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETPs. This cautious approach reflects the ongoing regulatory efforts that appear to balance the potential benefits of innovative investment products with the need to protect less experienced investors from potential, essentially volatile and losses. Comparative insights from the US and Hong Kong markets. The global landscape for crypto ETFs show a varied investor behaviors. Spot Bitcoin exchange-traded fund ETFs inside the United States have demonstrated strong performance with a notable trend of positive net inflows. In contrast, Hong Kong's similar products of ETFs have seen quite the opposite performance, much more lower performance. Particularly, data from the SOSO value shows that US-based spot Bitcoin ETFs have experienced a 9-day streak of inflows, of net inflows, accumulating $107.91 million as of yesterday. This marks the longest stretch of positive inflows since the 10-day streak observed in mid-March. The situation in Hong Kong presents a stark contrast. The region's spot Bitcoin ETFs have faced challenges, with the 3 approved funds experiencing a net outflow of 25.63 BTC on the same Thursday, according to data from SoSo Value. But regarding also Bitcoin ETFs in Hong Kong, the Bitcoin corporations in Hong Kong are actually heavy purchasers of ETF, just not in Hong Kong, mostly invested into BlackRock's ETF regarding Hong Kong companies. So Hong Kong isn't, poor regarding their investments. They're actually heavily invested into Bitcoin ETFs, just not the Hong Kong ones. Beforehand, they were investing in BlackRock, and they still are. But yeah, this is extremely odd news regarding the London Stock Exchange. London Stock Exchange, from the Financial Conduct Authority, gets a green light, and the people from the London Stock Exchange that essentially went through the documentations, looked into the ETF and ETP situations, helped with the Financial Conduct Authority to green light them, decided to quit or leave. Honestly, it seems like somebody forced them to leave. But they're sticking to their deadline of 28th of May. So 28th of May, are we going to have some volume coming in? Maybe, but I would say over time, definitely. About a week's time, 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time, let the markets mature. We'll see that volume coming in slowly. Now, this one's an interesting one because the title of it is "Hell Has Frozen Over." Hell has frozen over. How U.S. politics and Donald Trump sparked a historic breakthrough for crypto-aimed Ethereum ETF approvals and beyond. Now, before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section 1 sec. Let's see. Hi, Miles. Do you think FIT21 will SEC v Ripple result and end sooner rather than later? The FIT21 bill, and in general, congressmen and congresswomen going against the SEC and Gary Gensler, and essentially CFTC now having equal sort of power situations, it's definitely going to put pressure on Gary Gensler to get the ball rolling. I mean, it definitely put pressure on him regarding Ethereum ETFs, and it was coming up to the deadline. He could have still postponed it or said no. He had those options. So it's putting pressure on Gary Gensler regarding the FIT21 bill and the other bills, and congressmen and congresswomen and the CFTC to get the job done quicker. So, in my perspective, it's going to definitely put pressure on him regarding his cases. It's definitely going to put pressure on him and regarding other ETFs as well. Yes, definitely. It's made Gary Gensler wake up. As in, they can't remove him, but they can take his power away from him. Because the only man that can actually remove Gary Gensler, as I said previously, is Sleepy Joe. Sleepy Joe, the President of the United States, technically is the only one that can remove him. Now, they can't remove him, but they can take away his power. Obviously, Biden can veto it as well regarding that matter. He still hasn't, but he can. So if they can't remove him, then they'll, take away his power and give it to CFTC. That's essentially what they're aiming to do. And that's made Gary Gensler wake up and get the ball rolling. Otherwise, he's going to be having a job, but technically no job. So he's going to turn up to work every day and not be able to do anything. Now, hell has frozen over. How US politics and Donald Trump sparked a historic breakthrough for crypto-aimed Ethereum ETF approvals and beyond. It was a seismic week for crypto inside the United States, with 2 massive victories for the industry coming via the quick-fire approvals of the spot Ethereum ETFs and the progress of the bill designed to provide a clear regulatory framework. How ironic that both of those things, regarding the bill getting approved, and then obviously we had Gary Gensler. I mean, some might say coincidence, the bill comes into play, Gary Gensler is about to lose his power, and all of a sudden the ETF approvals come through, and some might just say coordinated. The former had seemed impossible just a week ago, with Bloomberg ETF analysts putting the odds of Ethereum ETF approvals at slim to none, which is true. About a week ago, the chances of an Ethereum ETF approval was basically 1 to a billion. And then the FIT21 Act gets approved, and all of a sudden, the tables are turned. 360, Gary Gensler wants to approve these documents, telling everyone to hurry up and send their documentations. Yeah, the FIT21 bill and Congress and congressmen and women and the CFTC have definitely put some pressure on Gary Gensler. The approval of the Financial Innovation and Technology for 21st Century Act, FIT 21, by the US House of Representatives, essentially on May 22nd, was another huge breakthrough made possible only by 71 Democrats crossing party lines to join Republicans in voting for its approval. It was the first time a major crypto bill has cleared one of the chambers of Congress. The sudden reversal in regulatory sentiments earlier this week came after months of stalled conversations, said JP Morgan analyst. And then, out of the blue, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, was not only re-engaging with fund managers eager to launch Ethereum ETFs, but actually fast-tracking the approval process. So, honestly, your question was perfect timing, Peter, regarding the FIT 21. Is that going to put pressure on the Ripple case or put pressure on Gary Gensler moving forward in any sort of a way? Yes, it's definitely put pressure on Gary Gensler to get the ball rolling. I mean, a week ago it was about $1 billion to 1 regarding Ethereum ETFs being approved. And then all of a sudden, we have JP Morgan analysts even stating, a month ago the conversation was stalled. Is what JP Morgan's analyst has said. They said a month ago the conversation was stalled. Nobody was talking about it. Even the SEC was no back and forward. And then, out of the blue, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, was not only re-engaging with fund managers, but eager to launch Ethereum ETFs, but actually fast-tracking the approval process. So yes, they've definitely put pressure on Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler knows that he is about to become jobless soon, when essentially there's a new president, or he's about to lose his power. Ripple Labs CEO Brad was so gobsmacked by the developments that he posted on X. It feels, this is what Ripple's CEO said, Brad. He posted on X and he said, it feels like hell has frozen over. Because it really does. The big momentum in crypto this week regarding Ethereum ETFs passed and the support on crypto legislations. Ethereum ETFs approvals, not the most important thing. Do you know what is? So what changed? The answer seems to be simple. Politics. Politics. One thing I've always said to everybody on this live show, I've said it to every single member of the CMF. I said, what did I say to everybody? Just for a quote. Everything I said, I've always said this one thing. I said this one thing plays into every sort of market space. I've always said to the CMF on this live show a million times that I've said in the Telegram group and in this live show, I said politics plays the biggest role inside this market space. I said politics plays the biggest role inside the crypto market space, the stock market space, the real estate market space. In every single market space, politics plays the biggest roles. I've always said this. And then now we have and everybody can quote me on this from the CMF as well, where everybody focuses on other aspects of the crypto space, which, there's a lot of aspects to focus on. But the number one thing of how the market works is politics. It's always about politics. And I've always said, if you're not interested in politics, but you're inside the market space, start understanding how politics works, because that's what makes the world spin. Money does make the world spin, but the people that approve things are the politicians, essentially. And you know how that one works. We don't need to go into the details of donations, but politics. You want to get something done? That's how you do it. So with the essentially JP Morgan analyst stating that, so what has changed? And what's more important than Ethereum ETF approvals? Politics is the simple answer, he said. That's a JP Morgan analyst. The most important things here isn't the ETF, said Adam as well, a partner of a venture capital firm. He said it's a total change in the stance by admins that forces Gensler to essentially do these things. The politicians, the root of that change was seemingly Donald Trump's unexpected grab as well for the crypto vote in the upcoming presidential election. The man who once called Bitcoin a scam had become not fully fine with it, but even willing to accept donations in crypto for his campaign to oust President Joe Biden. Or some may refer to him as Sleepy Joe. Some may also refer to Joe Biden as goldfish, because he shares the exact same brain cells as a goldfish when it comes to Joe Biden. The shift was a part of a move to build a crypto army to counter the anti-crypto army led by Biden's official surrogate, Elizabeth Warren. which is like a mummy, not an actual mother, but a mummy like the movies. According to a campaign statement, if you're in favor of crypto, you better vote for Trump, said the former president. But yeah, no, honestly, politics plays the biggest role, and that is essentially what's changed the playing field. Now, the next news I'm about to tell you is quite a major news. A $4.1 trillion state street advisor eyes ETFs and 401ks for the biggest boost to come regarding ETFs. A $4.1 trillion American financial giant street. We're about to go through it right now, but before we go through it, let's go inside the comment section because they are about to enter the crypto. It's going to be massive, but we'll go through it. So, let's go inside the comment section. He's showing up to work now and not doing anything, so there will be no difference regarding Gary Gensler's what JP said. Donald pumped me up for protection of the blockchain. Let's go, Leroy. It's amazing how quickly they can get things done when they want to. Yes, facts, what Shelley said. It's amazing how quickly they can get things done when they want to. Yep. You see how moved? Do you see how fast Gary Gensler has moved? Politics does wonders. When will the staking for Ethereum on ETFs be available? Well, good question. Leroy said in the comment section, when will the stakings for Ethereum on ETFs be available? Okay, inside the United States market, we still have Weasel Gary trying to block the idea of Ethereum staking. Now, the CFTC over time will probably change that. Now, regarding Ethereum staking on ETFs and so on, Hong Kong is actually going to be opening their doors to Ethereum staking, Ethereum ETF staking. Because Hong Kong's markets realize that if they want to get more volume coming in, they have to offer something that the rest of the market spaces aren't offering. And that is Ethereum ETF staking. So Hong Kong is about to open their doors to Ethereum ETF staking, which goes against everything Gary Gensler stands for. And my answer to that is good. I'm happy for Hong Kong for, essentially using that factor. You know why? Because politicians will probably look at Hong Kong and go, well, hang on a second. Hong Kong is about to open their, because American politicians will honestly, if they're smart enough, or somebody will tell them to look that way, they will look at it as, hang on a minute, Hong Kong is about, or even BlackRock might say this, hang on a minute, Hong Kong is about to open their doors to Ethereum ETF stakings, and the American markets aren't. That's bad for the American markets. And that, because of Hong Kong, will push the American markets to start doing Ethereum ETFs as well. So I'm actually happy that Hong Kong is doing that, because that's just how politics works. They can get things done like that. So good for Hong Kong for doing it, because it'll put pressure on the American markets to follow in suit. And again, not listen to Gary Gensler. So, Leroy, Hong Kong is about to do it first regarding Ethereum stakings ETFs, which will put essentially pressure on the American markets to follow in suit. I mean, BlackRock, JP Morgan, I can see it for a fact. JP Morgan will probably be the first one trying to nibble their way into some Ethereum staking situation, because JP Morgan loves Ethereum. JP Morgan loves it when it comes to Ethereum. Bitcoin, not so much. But they do hold Bitcoin ETFs. JP Morgan, the man who hates Bitcoin, holds Bitcoin ETFs. Not him, but his clients do in JP Morgan, because they filed for a 13F filing, which shows that they hold Bitcoin ETFs inside of JP Morgan. So, but he loves the idea of Ethereum, anything to do with Ethereum. They've built on Ethereum, for crying out loud, regarding Onyx Chain. So, regarding that matter, he loves the idea of it, and I think JP Morgan will put that pressure in regarding Ethereum ETFs as well. Among other things, yes, you said that. Let's go, Camel. Miles, as you can see, I've always said politics is the key. It's the key. Politics is the key to every sort of market space. And I've always said Ethereum played their political card very nice. Ethereum played their political card very nice on the early days. While Ripple went through the route of essentially, getting the banks in, the contracts and licensing, Ethereum went straight to the politics. That's why, they're sitting where they are essentially, because it plays the biggest role. Now, Miles, what is your opinion on ZIL, CAS, and TON? ZIL, good. There's prospering future for it. CAS, It needs to get a contract. Okay, Ton is amazing. Ton, absolutely amazing blockchain, mainly because of Telegram. If Ton didn't have Telegram, then it has nothing. But because it has Telegram, it has everything it needs. 900 million users is basically what Telegram has. 900 million users, and Ton is Telegram's only blockchain. Why? Because essentially Telegram did develop Ton, but they dropped it because of the SEC. So a few random developers, let's say, came about, started developing on Ton, and then somewhere down the line, Telegram decided to partner with Ton, even though they developed Ton. 900 million users, and Telegram is about to turn their app into an everything app. So it's not just X and Elon Musk turning X into an everything app where you can make phone calls, video calls, book things, purchase things, watch things, and so on. Telegram is about to become an everything app as well. And their blockchain is Ton. Ton. Ton is definitely going to do wonders as time goes by. And somebody asked me a very long time ago, not a long time ago, a while ago, is Ton, Ton, a competitor to Solana? And my answer was very simple. I said, hell yes. 900 million users is what Telegram has. And it's going to grow over time. And their number one blockchain and only blockchain will be Ton. And they're about to become an everything app. It's a competitor, 100%. Ton, amazing. Zil, good. Cas, it needs a contract. Okay, Cas needs a contract. It doesn't matter if you're a fast blockchain. It doesn't matter if you're cheap. It doesn't matter if you're fast on transactions, cheap on transactions, old blockchain, new blockchain. None of that matters. What matters is contracts. Do you have any sort of big companies, big corporations, anybody big inside the corporate sector that's contracted out to you, that you're doing some sort of developments with them? That is what puts you from a good project to a bad project. And Cas doesn't have any sort of contract. Because look, I'll tell you to you like this, very simple. Most projects inside the crypto space or any sort of market space will hit a ceiling. They'll hit a glass ceiling at one point because the retail section will, lose interest in that project. The retail section are not coordinated when it comes to their investments. Okay, the only time the retail section became coordinated was when the Roaring Kitty person came out with AMC and GME. That was the only time the retail section became fixated on two assets and everybody was coordinated towards it. Okay, and what happened? A lot of people made money. Some people lost money. Now, picture that as the retail section became coordinated for once in their lives on two assets, and everybody was going for it, and the asset was going higher and higher and higher. That's what the corporate section does 24/7. They're all essentially coordinated. The corporate section is 24/7 coordinated. What the retail section did once, and it was about to do the second time recently, is what the corporate section does 24/7. They're always coordinated on assets, and they don't enter it to exit it 6 months down the line. They enter it to 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. They'll stay within that budget. That's why also the market space isn't, essentially playing in historic patterns because the institutions are buying and holding. That's why the market's not playing historic patterns for a while now. So regarding CAS and other crypto projects like CAS, at one point they're going to hit a glass ceiling because the retail section is not going to have enough money to push it through this glass ceiling. But if it gets the right contract, that corporate sector can essentially push it outside of the glass ceiling. Because the retail section will keep on hitting some glass ceiling when it comes to CAS. And projects like CAS, they'll hit a glass ceiling. And I'm not saying CAS has hit this glass ceiling already. I'm saying at one point, it's going to hit a glass ceiling if it doesn't get a contract with a major corporation to push it through the glass ceiling. Because the retail section will lose interest every time they hit the glass ceiling. And they'll go to other projects. But corporations, they come in, they invest for 5 years down the line. They'll come into CAS and they'll purchase CAS and hold it for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 15 years. Because that's what they do. They're not like this retail section that lose interest after 6 months and go to something else. Or go to the next, zoo animal token that comes out. And then, again, that's why, the market space is not playing historic patterns because they're coming in and holding Bitcoin. And that's why nobody ever saw $20,000 Bitcoins. Everybody inside the crypto space, except me and the CMF, everybody inside the crypto space was expecting $20,000 Bitcoins, $15,000 Bitcoins. I said, no, that's never going to happen because they're coming in to disrupt the pattern. This is exactly what they did. Did anybody ever see $15,000 Bitcoins? No. The reason why I didn't see them, because they're coming in and they're buying and they're holding. They play by different rules. The retail section rules are After 6 months, let's jump to this crypto project. 6 months later, jump to that crypto project. The corporations come in and go, well, we can build on this one. So we're going to go for a 5-year plan on this, 10-year plan on that, 20-year plan on that. That's how they come in. And when they come in like that, they hold. And that's what disrupts the patterns. That's why the market is not playing historic patterns. The reason why I know all of this is because I'm inside the corporate sector. So, regarding CAS and projects like CAS, they need a major contract. They need that major contract that can burst through that glass ceiling. So when it gets that contract, brilliant. If it doesn't, it's going to keep on hitting that glass ceiling with the retail section's money, and the retail section will just lose interest and just go to different projects. So that's what I would say about CAS and projects like CAS. ZIL is good. TON, amazing. Nothing wrong with TON. Except the USDT section part. Now, Hong Kong is worth the visit, my dad said decades ago. Yeah, Hong Kong is an amazing place. Never been, but looks amazing. ZIL is okay, and CAS is a possibility, yes. So yeah, TON, amazing. ZIL, okay. CAS, possibility. Exactly, Scott. Now, $4.1 trillion State Street Advisor eyes ETFs and a 401k. Big boost for BTC. The American financial service giant, State Street Global Advisors, is mulling interest in exchange-traded ETFs into 401ks, a move that might benefit Bitcoin, because it could also go to the other ETF now we have as well, Ethereum. The doors haven't opened yet, but when they do, essentially. The major State Street pivot disrupting the investment landscape remains a major focus for most financial advisors. The quest to explore new grounds remains a major essential reason why firms like Grayscale Investments and BlackRock champion the emergence of spot Bitcoin ETFs. Earlier this week, the United States Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC), when they approved another set of 8 spot Ethereum ETF applications, it was the positive sentiment essentially that was needed. That other ETFs are on the way. This market space regarding cryptocurrency and blockchain is about to expand and connect with the corporate sector, the traditional market space. That's where all the money is. While more avenue is opening up in the ETF terrain, the retirement system for 401ks is still largely shut out. This is what State Street is set out to change. Speaking to Bloomberg TV, this is massively bullish. Speaking to Bloomberg TV, State Street Global Advisors Chief Business Officer Anna confirmed on the ongoing talks with regulators to bring ETFs to 401ks. This is what they said, word for word. We are working really hard with regulators and investors with plans to sponsor to make sure that ETFs find a way into retirements, because 401k plans don't buy ETFs for all the reasons that are very known to us, technology and regulations, but we believe that these things are going to convey at some point, essentially change. Should its bid pull through, there may be a significant upside for Bitcoin and, by extension, Ethereum ETFs. Since these two assets can now be acquired by Wall Street financial managers, State Street may also embrace them through their respective ETFs. State Street commands more than $4.1 trillion in assets under management. Should it inject a fraction of this into spot Bitcoin or Ethereum ETFs, the upside for the industry might be enormous. Yes, it will be, because if they do it, the rest will follow. Vanguard, marking accept on Bitcoin and risky bets. So while the State Street has essentially categorically stated that it will bet on spot Bitcoin ETFs products directly, one of the major investment managers in the US, Vanguard, has confirmed it will not invest in these products. Regarding Vanguard, they are an absolute two-faced company, because Vanguard, as I said previously on this live show and multiple times, they are a essentially majority shareholder in Bitcoin mining institutions. Okay, Vanguard will come on the news and on Bloomberg or on CNBC and tell everybody they hate Bitcoin, Bitcoin's volatile, there's no point of Bitcoin, what's actually backing Bitcoin, who buys Bitcoin is what they say on the news. But Vanguard is a majority shareholder of Bitcoin mining institutions. So it's volatile for some apparent reason, but it's not volatile when they're holding Bitcoin mining stocks. Despite the investment and legitimacy granted to Bitcoin by Gary Gensler-led SEC, the firm is still against the idea. Additionally, Vanguard CIO Greg Davis has also warned against investing in GameStop. The meme stock refers essentially this month as many retail investors and essentially going for it regarding that. And Robert F. Kennedy even made $24,000 investment into the GameStop situation. But put it out to one side. It's obvious that Vanguard may not take the same path as State Street, which they already have. Okay, Vanguard, majority shareholder in Bitcoin mining institutions. But again, putting that to one side. Nobody cares about essentially Vanguard's two-faced opinions. One being they're actually inside the market space, and the other opinion is they're really not, apparently on the news. But in reality, they are. Now, because, PDF documents say a lot of things. But what I am interested about is, and what is absolutely incredibly and enormously bullish, is the $4.1 trillion essentially asset under management that's about to be entered. So, State Street commends more than $4.1 trillion in assets under management. Should it inject a fraction of this into the spot Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, the upside for the industry would be enormous. This is absolutely bullish. This is absolutely will be enormous, because if they do it, the rest will follow. And then we'll talk about 401ks. We'll talk about 401. Interesting enough, this perfectly in lines with what BlackRock said. BlackRock's analyst, a week back, BlackRock's analyst actually said that they see pensions and 401ks coming inside the Bitcoin ETF space, and coming in the ETF space in general, is what a BlackRock analyst said about a week ago. And interesting enough, JP Morgan's analyst, Nicholas, he also said the same thing. He said that he sees that pensions and 401ks coming inside essentially the blockchain space, or going for the ETF space, which is coming to a truth, because State Street has went on Bloomberg and said, they're going on that path of 401ks and so on, and going towards ETFs. This is enormous news. It's absolutely bullish for the crypto space. The amount of money that's going to be injected into the market space just from these people, and also people that follow in suit inside the corporate sector, is definitely going to be. Look, as I previously said, part 2, everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say part 2. Part 2 is pending, but part 2 is going to be an incredible ride. If you don't know what part 2 is, I've made a tweet regarding part 2 a while ago, but I've retweeted it recently. Essentially, it's me stating that more institutions, more ETFs, more ETPs, more corporate partnerships, more regulations, all of these are on the way, and they have a massive, massive positive sentiment, which is going to kickstart a second run on a whole nother level. But it's the utility run. It's pending, still pending. Not this, the part 2 is still pending. As in, it's in progress. Positioning, let's say. Now, Expo Bank now accepts Bitcoin deposits through Lightning Network. But before we go through that, let me see, is that in the comment section instead of new? Before I read you the next news, let's go inside the comment section. I think Happy Pisces even asked you about that last year, if I'm not mistaken. She did. That is true regarding Happy Pisces. Miles is wonderful, as there still might be a time gap from all the money being injected into crypto versus actual adoption and integration of the ISO 2020 tokens, which is facts. And Happy Pisces, good to see you. How you doing? And JP, facts, she did ask me about this. AVAX or Baby Bonk? AVAX or Baby Bonk? AVAX. Why would you even ask that? Chills on AVAX. Oops, I think we just repeated what each other said about 10 seconds ago. Yes. Yeah, JP and you. Yeah. But yeah, High Pisces did say this. And yeah, this is going to be absolutely massive. We're going 401ks. Absolutely massive. And Chill Zone, always AVAX when the other option is B Bonk. Okay. Expo Bank. Expo Bank is now accepting Bitcoin deposits through Lightning Network. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, who is Expo Bank and what is Expo Bank? You might have not ever heard about it. If you were inside the crypto space in the early days, you would have heard about Expo Bank. Expo Bank is quite a large, essentially one of the first crypto banks actually to ever exist inside the crypto space, but mainly for Latin America. And they are about to, not just the Bitcoin network, but we'll go through right now. So Expo Bank announced that the development will enable its global custodians to deposit BTC using Lightning Network, a payments-focused Bitcoin layer 2. It will run the transactions through a Lightspark, a company that provides Lightning Network-based payment infrastructure. Expo Bank is growing in Latin America. The latest development comes from the growing adoption rate in major Latin American markets such as Argentina and Brazil. This is what they said, word for word, the CEO of Expo. We believe in Lightning Network's future as the primary avenue for Bitcoin transactions, especially for daily small-scale exchanges, revealed Expo Bank's CEO. According to the banks, the system offers a near-zero transaction fees, also symbolizing a leap forward in Bitcoin technology. The Gibraltar headquarters bank added that the new Lightning Network deposit feature is available to all members and guarantees members US deposits of up to an equivalent $100,000. By embracing this technology earlier on, we're supporting its growth and ensuring that they benefit from this potential without essentially sacrificing security, said the company. Lightspark co-founder and CEO David Marcus highlighted the need to bring convenience to clients. This is what they said. Today, Bitcoin's users seek not only to store their wealth, but also to integrate Bitcoin into their daily transactions seamlessly, he said. The endorsement of instant Bitcoin deposits enabled by regulated banks marks a significant milestone in global Bitcoin acceptance. Coinbase joins Expo in tapping into Lightspark. Approximately 3 weeks ago, the largest US centralized exchange, Coinbase, tapped into Lightspark as well to launch spot for Lightning Network payments. Coinbase's move comes a year after Expo Bank announced that it now supports Lightning Network. According to Expo, the market is increasingly warming up to the services. The number of Lightning Network payments made through Expo jumped 44% from April through March this year. Argentina and Brazilian users topped the list, essentially accounting for 29% and 14% of the transactions. According to Expo, these countries have historically experienced high inflation, which boosts Bitcoin's valuation proposition for local users. Look into Bitcoins indicates that 4,868.2 BTC, worth estimated around $337.7 million, is currently locked on essentially the Lightning Network. Expo continues to pioneer Bitcoin services. Expo was one of the first financial service providers to offer Bitcoin services to Latin American markets, which they were, definitely. Entrepreneur Wentz, who also launched the first internet service provider in Argentina in 1994, founded Expo Bank, which is also true. The person that founded the internet, essentially, in the Latin American market spaces in 1994, was essentially the person that also launched Expo Bank. So you can tell Expo Bank is in safe hands in terms of the person running the show understands technology. But yeah, if you've never heard of it, Expo Bank is massive. And if you were in the crypto space in the earlier days, you would have heard about Expo Bank. But they're quite big in Latin America, and they're going to be expanding worldwide. I still have my Expo account, even though I'm not from Latin America and I live in London. I just don't know what the account details are in terms of logging in, because in the early days they were accepting everyone in the early days. But then they became just Latin America, and then to branch out, they're applying for licenses. Now, the next news to go through is BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF nears top spot after a $380 million buy. So BlackRock's Bitcoin ETFs near a top spot after $380 million buy. If we go through that, let's go inside the comment section. I'm a bit confused. If they did a BTC ETF, that is not a security. How can they do an ETF if it is yet to be defined as a security or commodity? Does it mean it will be a commodity? And if so, it doesn't make all the alts virtually a commodity? Well, technically, Harry, they're actually they put Ethereum down as an ETF, as a Ethereum ETF security is what they've put it down technically as. They put it down as an Ethereum ETF security, is one of the documents stated. Apparently. But no, regarding, doesn't that make all the alts essentially, if it was a security, if Ethereum was a security, does it make all the alts a security? Sorry, does it make all the alts a commodity? No, because Gary Gensler can still turn around and say, no, this is commodity, this is security, even though it isn't. But he can still turn around and say that. The guy has too much power. Weasel Gensler, Gary Gensler has too much power. That's why they're taking his power away from him. But no, it should do, theoretically, if one asset is a commodity, Ethereum is a commodity, then the rest should be treated in the same manner. If they follow the same footsteps as Ethereum, they should be commodities. But, there's somebody by the name of Gary Gensler who comes along and goes, no, this is commodity, this is security, this is commodity, this is security. So they should do theoretically, but we have one moron standing in the way of actual logic. Hello again, everyone. Thompson, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Is that going to be featured in Lobster Wallet? No. Expo Bank? No. They have their own app and their own bank card for a very long time. So, next news on tonight's live show is BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF nears top spot after a $380 million buy. BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust, IBIT, is on the track to become the largest Bitcoin fund after purchasing over $380 million worth of the BTC this week, according to blockchain analyst, essentially platform, Arkham Intelligence. The biggest purchase occurred on May 21st, with essentially the IBIT buying over $290 million in Bitcoin. Launched in January 2024, after the SEC approved the spot Bitcoin ETFs, IBIT has quickly become the second largest Bitcoin fund. IBIT now holds more than 284,000 plus BTC, worth over $19.1 billion, putting it just $300 million away from surpassing the Grayscale Bitcoin ETF, which holds about 289,000 plus BTC, valued at $19.4 billion. So, Grayscale, which always held the most, is sitting at $19.4 billion in terms of BTC. BlackRock is sitting at 19.1, so not that far off. The recent inflows follow notable investments in IBIT, including the state of Wisconsin, which is true. I revealed on this live show that the state of Wisconsin invested about roughly $100 million into BlackRock's IBIT in the first quarter of 2024, according to their 13F filings, highlighting the growing institutional adoption of Bitcoin through regulated investment vehicles. IBIT's rapid growth highlights institutional confidence in regulated Bitcoin investments, which it does. And that's the reason regarding, obviously, the Bitcoin ETFs, the Bitcoin price point, skyrocket and Bitcoin doing new numbers. It wasn't the retail section. The corporate section, 937 of them, 937 corporations inside of BTC ETFs. Thanks for explaining, Miles. No problem, anytime. Before I go through the next news, which is the FDIC chairman, Martin, to resign a toxic workplace investigation. I'll explain to you why this has some relevance to crypto as well. A chairman of the FDIC has just now resigned. Well, if I go through it, let's go inside the comment section. Gary is such a happy boy, however, he does not behave like one, which is true. BlackRock ETFs going to feature within Lobster Wallet. BlackRock's ETF, no. BlackRock's ETF, no. They're not going to be featured in Lobster Wallet, no. I was off topic. What do you think about getting a digital passport, like from a country that accepts citizens from other countries? Is it worth getting one? There's one, obviously, the Paolo digital ID and so on. No. The reason why I wouldn't suggest it now in any sort of a way, later on, when you reach that level inside the crypto space regarding because you're inside the right projects and you reach that wealth you want to in life, then sure, get multiple passports. Would I suggest anybody getting digital passports? If you're going to set up a business, then yes, sure, definitely, go for a digital passport. If you want to set up a business and you want to set up your business in a different country, you can still open up a branch, or you can set up a digital passport, but then you'll be obliged to pay taxes in that country as well. Now, in terms of a Paolo digital ID, for example, the issue with that is a lot of people don't talk about it. People talk about the positive sides of essentially signing off for digital IDs and so on. But the issues with that is they can change their laws at any given time. So let's just say you buy a Paolo digital ID. Right now they're saying you buy this ID for $99 if I'm not mistaken, or $100 or something like that. And then you get a digital ID. You become a virtual citizen of Paolo, and you can use this to apply for exchanges and different types of things inside the blockchain sector and so on. Now later on, Paolo can change their regulations overnight if they want to do. That's the issue with these types of countries. They can change their regulations overnight if they wanted to. They're so small that their population wouldn't be impacted if they came with a new regulation tomorrow morning. And also, you have to pay them yearly as well. So, yes, they charge also a very small fee at the beginning, but they charge you yearly, and the yearly increases. The annual pricing increases every year the more you hold on to that digital ID. So there's the negative sides about it as well, which they can change their regulations overnight depending on how big the country is, because it won't affect their population that much. And also they charge an annual fee yearly as well, which you have to consider going for digital IDs. Now, if you're trying to set up a business and you want a digital ID, that makes sense. But as a personal scenario, they don't make any sense. Later on, you have this newfound wealth. Sure, go for a Monaco passport, go for a Japanese passport. Actually, quite good. Japan's passport is ranking #1. Go for a Japanese passport, go for a Monaco passport, go for United Arab Emirates passport, any passport you want later on. Now, I would suggest these e-passports. Miles, I sent you a DM when time permits, my friend and mentor. Yes, Scott. Apologies. I'll check it out after the live show. Not sure if you can see my question on X, Miles. What is your view on RSR? Lena, you asked me this question. I think a bit more earlier on the live show. RSR is a good project. It's an alright project. I hold RSR as well, but not really high on my portfolio. Very low on my portfolio, but it's an alright project. RSR is what I would say. It's an alright project. Would you buy LimeWire now, down 50%? If you want to, there's a possibility of it coming back. CMF, what's up? Below, good to see you. How you doing? Because Shelly made a good comment once regarding LimeWire, essentially, because obviously LimeWire, as how I know LimeWire was the Napster version of LimeWire, but what LimeWire is in today's world regarding blockchain technology. And Shelly made a good point once, I think it was. I think it was Shelly or someone else, but they made a good point regarding LimeWire in terms of the tokenization part of artists and so on, where a lot of artists are going to go solo in terms of that, and LimeWire could be their opening, venture into it. So possibility of that happening. Brother Miles, did I miss any XRP news right at the beginning of the show? I remember about your data that you will give up, and yes, also about the data that you will give up as well. Regarding the digital passport you're talking about, JP, data you give up, yeah. So yeah, Shelly, I would say the digital ID situation makes no sense now. Maybe later on, sure. Later on makes sense. Now doesn't make any sense. Unless you're planning on setting up a business in a different country. But then you'll be obliged to pay taxes in that country as well. So I wouldn't suggest it. Yes, yeah, that's what JP's doing. BTG up 20%. Okay, let's go, Jozo. And now, FDIC. Thank you for the update, Jozo. FDIC Chairman Morton has resigned. But his resignation is because of he's the chairman of the FDIC, and he resigned. And his resignation was essentially aimed toxic workplace investigations. Apparently, could be, could not be. But here's the thing: what's the relevance of crypto? We're gonna get to it. The FDIC, there's something happening in politics right now where a lot of politicians, regarding pro-crypto scenarios, because they have access to a $76 million fund right now where everybody's pro-crypto. because of the fund Ripple, Kraken, and Coinbase started to pay donations to politicians to get them in favor of crypto, which I don't mind. Gets the job done. But a lot of things are happening on that basis as well, because the FDIC, an independent US government agency, provides insurance for depositories in American commercial and saving banks. Morton, the chairman of the United States Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, will step down following a scathing investigation revealing a toxic workplace culture at the agency. Now, Morton announced his intentions to resign from his position as chairman, as a role he has held since August 2005. He stated in an email to staff, "In light of recent events, I am prepared to step down from my responsibilities once a successor is confirmed. Until that time, I will continue to fulfill my responsibilities as a chairman of the FDIC, including the transformation of the FDIC's workplace culture." The FDIC, an independent US government agency, provides insurance for depositories in American commercials and saving banks. The announcement follows a third-party investigation published, which uncovered allegations of harassments and other misconducts at the FDIC, as well as the management's inadequate response to these issues. Morton testified before Congress regarding the widespread allegations of harassments and mistreatments of colleagues. And both Republicans and Democrats expressed their outrage and disbelief of the issue within the FDIC, as reported by returners. Now, lawmakers, including Senate Banking Chairman Sherrod Brown, have called for his resignation and urged President Biden to appoint a new FDIC chairman. However, Senator Elizabeth Warren expressed confidence in Morton's ability to initiate change at the agency. So apparently this man, who's the chairman of the FDIC, was in scenarios of, now the word that I didn't say was sexual harassment is what Morton was actually involved in. I didn't know if I could say this word on live, but I just said it now. So Morton essentially was involved in sexual harassments and other types of harassments. And essentially Morton's about to be losing his job as the chairman of the FDIC. Now, this also has some relevance to cryptocurrencies as well, him getting replaced. And obviously, Senator Elizabeth Warren is standing by Morton and saying, no, he's a good man. Morton's impending resignation has been well received by the crypto community. Nick Carter, a partner at Castle Island Ventures, celebrated the news, calling it the best day ever. Meanwhile, digital asset industry lawyer John Deaton criticized Warren, saying it is shameful how Elizabeth Warren circled the wagons to keep one of her disgraced puppets in place. "I am so looking forward to the debates," is what John Deaton said. Morton is believed to have played a key role in Operation Choke Point 2.0, a term coined by Nick Carter in 2023. This refers to a coordinated effort by the FDIC to discourage banks from holding crypto deposits or providing banking services to crypto firms. This man has just, essentially, the chairman is about to leave. This is the man that was inside of Operation Choke Point 2.0. to stop banks and essentially regulators from becoming pro-crypto. He's about to get kicked out of the door. In October 2022 speech, Matt compared crypto assets to risky financial innovations like subprime mortgages and collateralized debt allegations that contributed to the 2008 financial crisis. So Matt obviously made a speech a very, very, very long time ago, essentially on cryptocurrencies. And ever since, he's always hated on the idea of cryptocurrencies and told banks to stay away from crypto projects, stay away from blockchain technology, and don't hold crypto assets inside of your banks, is what Morton has said for a very long time. And he even compared at one point cryptocurrencies to 2008 crash and said, this is the next crash. If you go into crypto, it's the end of, the market space essentially. And obviously Morton was best friends, if you want to say, even with Senator Elizabeth Warren. And Senator Elizabeth Warren doesn't care about the fact that Morton is, being shoved out the door because of sexual harassment. That doesn't matter to Elizabeth Warren. What matters to Senator Elizabeth Warren is that Morton keeps his job, even though he may have, harassed his employees, especially the women employees. She doesn't care about that part. She cares about him keeping his job, so she can still have Operation Choke Point 2 hold going on inside the market space. That's all she cares about. She just cares about the idea of stopping this happening. She lost control of, technically, let's say, Gary Gensler. When Gary Gensler first approved the Bitcoin ETF, Elizabeth Warren was not so happy about it, and she made these vague comments. And then now we have Ethereum ETFs, and she can technically tell that, okay, she's probably lost control of Gary Gensler. Now she's losing her control also over Martin, the chairman of the FDIC. He's about to be replaced also. So that the old saying, which I've said for Gary Gensler, and then there was one, it also applies to Senator Elizabeth Warren. And then there was one. Everyone in politics, every politician. So also the earlier news that I read out on tonight's live show, it feels like hell has frozen over. Hell has definitely frozen over regarding the markets. And what's changed is politics. Politics has definitely changed. There's been a 360 turn on politics when it comes to crypto, where if the allegations are true, which they could be, or they're just making these allegations to make Morton quit, or they've always had these allegations on Morton, but they've never used it on Morton before. And now was the perfect time to use these allegations against Morton to kick him out the door. There's also that scenario as well, if you know what I mean. Basically, blackmail. They've always had these allegations against Morton, never did anything about it until now, where now they use these allegations to their advantage to kick Morton out. But Elizabeth Warren doesn't care about any of that. She just cares about her imaginary team to stick together, which, by the looks of it, is about to come to an end. And then there was one. Yeah, this is massive news also for the crypto space. So politics has definitely done a 360 change. And what was said earlier on regarding the analyst perspectives from JP Morgan, stating essentially, what has changed inside the crypto space and what is the biggest news inside the crypto space. The biggest news inside the crypto space isn't the Ethereum ETFs, technically. The biggest news inside the crypto space is what got the Ethereum ETFs and what's going to be getting everything else inside the crypto space, which is politics. Politics has changed inside of the crypto space. That's what's going to be greenlighting more ETFs, greenlighting more regulations, and so on moving forward. That is a bigger factor, a bigger play inside the crypto space than the ETFs of the Ethereum. Ethereum ETFs is major news, but the biggest news is the politics mindset has changed. And if it stays like this, which it will, going forward, a lot of things are about to change. So massive news on that matter. All these politicians are now pro-crypto because they have access to the crypto fund now. $76 million. $76 million. That's the number that made these politicians all do a 360. Mexi asking for update, but because app is removed from Play Store, can't update it. Possible app stop working because of no updating. Yeah, there's a possibility of the app not working because of updates. There is that possibility. You can use the browser version. Or, if you own... Okay, so regarding iPhone, actually you can do that on iPhones now as well. Maybe I should do it on my iPhone as well. Okay, so regarding Androids, regarding Mexi Exchange, if you have Mexi Exchange, apologies about that. If you have Mexi Exchange and you have an Android, then just download the updates of the APK directly from Mexi Exchange. Just download the APK. If you have an iPhone, you have to get a modulator to be able to do it, or just use the browser version. So there is a possibility of the app, honestly, stop working. I missed LimeWire's dip to 6 cents. Can we come up with the name for her so we don't have to say her name? Lol. The mummy. I think we should call her the mummy. It makes sense. I mean, she shares the exact age with the mummy. Did you see Trump's Bronx rally? Trump had signs said XRP not a security. I did. Yep, cryptocurrency getting the crypto world out. More and more people start learning about crypto. Yes, I saw regarding the XRP on Trump's head. XRP is not a security. At his rally, someone was holding it. It's a good. I mean, the last person that did something like that was the Bitcoin sign that was sold in auction recently as well for quite a bit of money. So maybe somewhere down the line, that particular sign that was used in that news, XRP is not a security with Trump's head was on it, that maybe be sold on auction for a particular nice price point as well. Now, Miles, can any personal within the FDIC acquire cryptocurrencies as personal within the SEC cannot? There's a gray area regarding the FDIC. Is a gray area on regarding them, the employees being able to purchase cryptocurrencies. The SEC can't. There's no gray areas around the SEC, which never made any sense. The SEC employees are supposed to, find out what's wrong with, regarding cryptocurrencies. The SEC employees are supposed to find out are they good, are they bad, and so on. But they can't buy the cryptocurrency at all. It's not allowed to buy cryptocurrencies, but they have to determine what cryptocurrencies are. It's like me not being able to buy a car, but I have to determine what the speed of that car is and what horsepower it has and what the engine is and how it drives. I don't know how I'm going to do that if I don't, if I'm going to be testing out that car. But yeah, the FDIC is a gray area regarding buying cryptocurrencies. Just for a fun fact, that was Crypto Granny that was holding that sign. That was Crypto Granny? Okay. Now, we have reached the endings of tonight's live show. And on tonight's live show, we talked about quite a lot of things. We talked about the chairman of the FDIC leaving, essentially, which is big news because Operation Choke Point 2.0 just came to an end. We talked about BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF nears the top spot, which is getting closer to Grayscale's holdings. $19.1 billion what essentially BlackRock is holding. Then we talked about Expo Bank expanding their range on Bitcoin Lightning Network. Then we talked about JP Morgan and regarding the future prospects essentially of spot ETFs as well, Ethereum ETFs, and how the future is going to be playing out essentially. And then we talked about, on tonight's live show, regarding the $4.1 trillion State Street, essentially, global advisor as about to be entering the 410 case, which is massively bullish news regarding that matter. The $4.1 trillion state, I mean, it's crazy. Then we talked about essentially hell has frozen over, how US politics and Donald Trump sparked a historic breakthrough for crypto-aimed Ethereum ETF approvals. And then we talked about on tonight's live show also regarding London Stock Exchange and the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETPs from Wisdom Tree that's about to be approved on May 28th, green lighted. On the update on that, we talked about that as well on tonight's live show. We also talked about the International Monetary Fund and Zimbabwe's gold-backed currency. We talked, it's called ZIG, and the digital version is coming. We also talked about Standard Chartered Bank analyst talking about XRP and Solana ETFs. We talked about Coinbase CEO and their recent appeal to the SEC, and even using the Ripple case inside of their appeal that they sent over to the SEC. And this was today, actually yesterday, because right now it's 25th. They sent it on 24th. So yesterday. Then we talked about FTX and how the FTX situation right now regarding coming inside the market space to pay everybody back their money, not as FTX 2.0, but to pay back their creditors, is actually a bullish sign because they're paying them back in cash, which could create a buying pressure. Then we talked about OKX Exchange withdrawing their application from Hong Kong markets, and then we talked about Marathon Digital essentially signed their agreement today with the Kenyan government to open up a new Bitcoin mining operation in Kenya, which is going to expand Bitcoin's network. Then we talked about the former SEC chairman Jay Clinton, essentially talking about the future prospects of the ETF market space and Ethereum. And then we talked about the EU market space as well regarding AI. So we talked about quite a lot of mixture of news regarding AI, regarding SEC, regarding FDIC, regarding IMF, regarding banking news, regarding these 401ks and ETF market space. So mixture of news we talked about tonight's live show, as we do every single night. If you enjoyed this live show, drop a follow, drop a like. If you're watching this on X, drop a follow, drop a like, and tune into it every single night. If you're watching this on YouTube, drop a follow, drop a like, and tune into it every single night as well. And join into the conversations inside the comment section as well. And, join the CMF live show and join the CMF members inside the comment section. Every single one of them is absolutely amazing. They tune in every single night, and amazing people to talk to and communicate inside the comment section. We also have a Telegram group as well, completely free. Everything I provide is completely free of source. I believe education should always remain free. So you can join also in a community, amazing people inside of Telegram as well. And anybody's more than welcome to join as well. Good night, Miles and all CMF. Thank you for all great news. Let's go. JP, see you tomorrow sometime as usual. Man, I essentially waiting for multiple those the comments that bull run. Need to see multiple god. Yeah. Is there any crypto space? Is there any crypto spaces tonight, Miles? I don't know. I'll be honest. Let's see. At the moment, the markets are pretty much in consolidation for the last couple of weeks. Yeah. Good night, yeah, true, Thompson. Good night, Miles and CMF. Nice live. Let's go, Carol. Carol, see you tomorrow sometime as usual. Good night, Miles and all CMF. Free and forever. See you tomorrow sometime as usual as well. Good night, Miles and CMF. Thank you. Mike, brother, see you tomorrow sometime as usual. Take care, everyone. And what a lovely session. Let's go, Thompson. See you tomorrow sometime as usual. Good night, Miles and all CMF. Emon, see you tomorrow sometime as usual. Jim, see you tomorrow sometime as usual. Good to see you as well, Jim. Thanks for a great live, Miles, as usual. Good night, sir, and CMF. Jason, see you tomorrow sometime as usual as well, brother. Great live, Miles. Take care, brother, and another mother. Let's go. Ray, see you tomorrow, brother. Sometimes as usual. How can one tackle the incoming bull run knowing what to sell and what points? Contracts. If you're in the correct projects, the market space will just go higher and higher in terms of if you're inside the correct project with legitimate projects, in other words, based on contracts, PDF contracts. Corporations. Thank you, Miles. Good night, everyone. Talk. See you tomorrow sometime as usual as well. Another great job tonight. Let's go, Scott. See you tomorrow sometime as usual as well. Yeah, Jim. The more corporations that are invested in a particular crypto project in terms of contracts, the better the prospects of the future of that crypto project is going to be in 5 years' time, 10 years' time. So, thank you so much to everybody that tunes in every single night on this live show. If you enjoyed this live show, drop a follow, drop a like, and tune into it every single night. On X or on YouTube Live. It's because we're live on both of them every single night. This has been episode 66 of the CMF Live Show. We talk about cryptocurrencies, recent news that's happening around the world in terms of regulations, cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, and politics, because it all plays in together. So if you enjoyed this live show, drop a like and tune in every single night. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same timing as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same timing as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world, CMF. So I may hold Chainlink what I need to sell. I'm personally not going to be. At one price point, I will, but not now. I appreciate what you do for our daily family group. Hashtag CMF the best. Let's go, Scott. Thanks so much for the kind words, brother. Tor, see you tomorrow sometimes as usual as well. Good night, Lena. See you tomorrow sometimes as usual as well. Good night, Jim. See you tomorrow sometimes as usual as well. Good night, Miles. I saw you on a program a few days ago. Good job representing CMF. Let's go, Scott. Happy Pisces. See you tomorrow sometimes as usual as well. Good night, Miles and CMF. See you tomorrow. Let's go, Orphan. See you tomorrow sometimes as usual as well. Miles, I forgot what life was like. What life was like before I found. Miles, I forgot what life was like before I found you. I'm so thankful for opening up this world to me. I've never met you, but it feels like we've known one another forever. You make everyone feel heard. Let's go, Shelly. Shelly, thank you so much for the kind words. Honestly, Shelly, thank you so much for the kind words. It does feel like I know every single one of you. What Shelly has said is facts. I feel like I know Shelly, and I feel like I know every single one of you. That's how we are inside the CMF. I'm very impressed with the CMF. The amazing community we've all created together is nothing I've ever seen before inside the crypto space or any other sort of space. The CMF is truly unique, I would have to say. Miles, the GOAT. Scott, see you tomorrow sometime as well. So Shelly, genuinely mean it. Thank you so much for the kind words. It feels like everybody knows each other inside the CMF, to be fairly honest. Just continuing to add to the bag. Let's go, Thompson. Thompson, see you tomorrow sometime as usual. I agree with Shelly with your statement. Let's go, Scott. Michelle, thank you so much for the kind words, and I agree. It feels like everyone inside the CMF knows each other. It's very. I've never seen that happen in any sort of space at all. Well said, Shelley. I agree 1000%. Let's go, Chinos. Thompson, let's go. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world, CMF. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Well said, Shelley. Let's go. Shelley, everyone agrees with you. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world, CMF. And Shelley, let's go. Shelley, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. I just purchased more ton and Tradify. Let's go, Scott. See everybody tomorrow.